Kia EV6 versus Hyundai Ioniq 5 versus Genesis GV60, all three on the same platform with a lot of similarities, versus the Kia Niro EV versus the Genesis GV70 EV. These Korean EVs, all in a crossover SUV-ish segment. Let's find out which is the best one, which one would you take, which one would I take home. Let's find out, let's go. Here we go with a driving review of the Kia EV6, German Autobahn included, here with Thomas and Autogefühl. Is it better than the sibling Hyundai Ioniq 5? And is it maybe even the best EV overall now? Let's find out, let's go. Thanks, by the way, to the Heinen dealership in Germany for supplying us the vehicle. We do not get any money, but I wanted to return the favor because they're really nice guys. So check out the video description and the pinned comment for the link, especially our friends in Germany. They can then buy this vehicle, for example, at them. So let's take a look at the front right here. Headlamps, LED standard, optional dual LED, which we also see here now. And also this very cool daytime running light right there. This is the GT line. That means we have different styling here in the lower part, a sportier atmosphere. Otherwise you would have a front grille which is more like curved like this in the lower part. Here more sporty accentuations on the side, and also this lower element here. Overall a very cool and clean look. New Kia logo there as well. And the red color also fits the vehicle very well, doesn't it? The length here is at 4.68 meters or 184 inches, and the interesting thing is the Hyundai Ioniq 5 is basically the same platform, same technology vehicle, but here the Kia EV6 has a little bit shorter wheelbase but a little bit more overall length. But they're just tiny nuances actually, but very interesting in the driving part especially, and also what the interior part is to come. I will talk about the differences, Kia EV6 and the Ioniq 5. Here the wheels, 19-inch, you should also stick with these. Tell you later on more about it in the driving part. Option, you can also get 20-inch or 21-inch for the GT, the most powerful version. Talking about that, this one here today is the one with rear-wheel drive. You can also get all-wheel drive, and you have two electric motors, and the GT has two electric motors and the highest horsepower figure. And there are also two different batteries available, 58 kilowatt hours or 77 kilowatt hours. We have the bigger battery here today, and considering the overall range, it is also recommended to go for the bigger battery at this moment. Soon also more about the range figures. Here in the side profile, once again, very streamlined look. It's a little bit more wind efficient than the Ioniq 5 because of this rear ending here. Some flying element right there, very strong hip area here, and also we have these adaptive door handles. They also go in and out depending on if the car is open or closed. Wow, look at that rear styling here with the light strip, really impressive. So super cool design, I think, very unique definitely, and also very clean in the lower area here, the GT line once again with the sporty black accentuations here. As for the acceleration figures, with the small battery and the rear electric motor only, so rear drive only, you start around 8.5 seconds, then you go 7.3 with this one here, big battery and rear wheel drive, then you go 5.2 with the all-wheel drive version and 3.5 with the all-wheel drive GT. And here, by the way, with the remote park function, you can actually move your car with the key. So you hold it then here, forward button, and then so I'm not driving, you know, as you can see, obviously. And then you can move it out of like a parking lot or something, which is super narrow or so. And the same way goes then also in reverse. So a pretty cool feature, definitely. So how far you want to go? Let's put it in a nice review position again, right? Not hit that Porsche there. How does it work, by the way? So you have to press and hold this button first, then the car comes to life, and then you hold one of these two buttons. Sometimes it also doesn't work at first instance for me. I had that with Hyundai and also with the Genesis vehicles. Sometimes you need to try sometimes, and the car needs to be closed for that before. Interestingly hidden is here the charging flap. Wow, that's cool, right? And you also have a charging meter right here. That's nice, 11 kilowatt AC. And then 240 kilowatt DC charging here. So you can go from 10 to 80% state of charge in under 20 minutes. However, only when the battery is already warm, when you have powered this car on the motorway. And then you have the V2L, the vehicle to load adapter. So kind of reverse charging. Here, you put it in and then you have this flap here. And then there's a normal, cable charger in here, so you can have your laser equipment, maybe like standard pedaling board, you want to charge there with that, or some, I don't know, camping equipment, whatever you like, charging batteries for cameras. Really cool solution, definitely. By the way, to unlock it again, you have to unlock it at the front door, at the inside of the doors, then press the unlock and then you can put it out again. You can see the door handles. They are one with the vehicle when you close it, and here when you open it they come towards you then a little bit. And from the feedback here, actually quite good. And door closing sound, solid. And towards the interior, here somehow soft at the inside, not too soft. Here is then a little bit softer for your elbow actually. Controls for the mirrors and so on, rather classic, that's good. And then, yeah, it seems really clean and nice, that interior. Here soon more to this dual screen setup. Also interesting materials being used here, so structured material, it looks quite fancy. Steering wheel, open spoke design, still some manual buttons here on that. Really love that, no capacitive BS. Hashtag capacitive BS is a thing here at Autogefühl, but no thing of that here at the steering wheel. Drive mode selector also here. And then the seats, they have this two-color design right here. In this case, they are the ones with microfiber. They are the most comfortable, the coziest ones actually, and they can even be cooled. So microfiber plus cooling, best summer setup, really cool. They are available in different colors, showing you here also from the US configurator, for example. You can get a bright leatherette, a black leatherette, but then also combinations of black plus white or white plus black, and also this microfiber variant. And then there's also the GT, the bucket seat. And in Germany there's also a fabric entry level seat. But the good thing is the whole interior is animal free, sustainable materials, no animal was harmed, really good, looking forward, and also better than the Ioniq 5. Ioniq 5 does not have an animal free steering wheel, and also the EU versions of the Ioniq 5 have animal leather, whereas this one here does not. Ioniq 5 in the US has leatherette, but here completely and also in all markets. So way to go Kia in this respect, and the materials feel really sophisticated, extremely good. Again, for the comfort, the microfiber seat will be the best. Brings some more coziness in the interior, but the leatherette surfaces also feel really high class. And if you want to have this wiping clean effect or something, or like it more from the visual aspects, it's also totally fine. As for the position here, with 1.86 m or 6'1", there's enough headroom left. It's a very comfortable seating position, and I feel the seats are also a little bit more comfortable than in the Ioniq 5. Maybe a little bit. In the Ioniq 5 you also have this this lounge seat thing that you have an additional calf rest here, some kind of thing. But here you have something similar. So when you use this button here in the lower area, then you do not have that special enlengthment there. But goodbye, you at least also have this lying back position. Interior overview, really clean atmosphere, 2x 12-inch screens, zoom more to that, and more of that structure right here. That's cool. Also, more coming up in the lower console. This is a very interesting solution. Steering wheel here, up and down, in and out, very smooth transition. And recuperation is changed with the pedals right here. More to that in the driving part. And the digital instruments, right side the range, left side then the speed. Of course, battery is at the moment at 62%, and the consumption figure can be lower. This is like winter time and also hitting more acceleration pedal. I had an average that was a little bit lower before. Zoom more to the effective range in the driving part. You can switch around here a little bit, but not too much to switch here actually. It changes a little bit according to the driving modes, like this here, for example, in the sport mode. And then there's a head-up display. It's also clear to read, and it's very good to have that head-up display, because here with that steering wheel it doesn't appear like that on camera, but from my head position and how I have the steering wheel set, I have very often a view of the speed like this, So the speed is then kind of half blocked by the steering wheel. So I tend to observe the speed then rather in the head-up display. Oh, by the way, here the heated steering wheel is really strong and also goes to the top part area here. Very nice and cozy for winter times. And here to that screen, well, this is a very modern vehicle and this is just okay, you know. It is a touchscreen, but it still has the feeling of a couple of years ago, you know. You have also a digital climate menu here, but you don't really need it. Soon showing you why. Yeah, and you know, the GPS and also the map. I think this is a little bit disappointing, you know. This is outdated in comparison to what this car otherwise can actually offer. So if you compare it to the Tesla Model Y and the Ford Mustang Mach-E, which both have cool infotainment systems, this one here does not. Usually then you would go for the Apple CarPlay or the Android Auto. And it's a cool remix, by the way. No, and he doesn't program the sounds here for Kia, just for BMW. Well, the thing is here, good sound system as well. Nice to listen to that. And then to this interesting lower area. First of all, some ambient lighting here. And then I would usually leave it like this. You have still a real knob for the climate unit. Yes, way to go. Even 2-zone AC here. That's very cool. And you can also activate, deactivate the AC here. This is then the additional heating directly from the battery. It takes energy, but sometimes in winter you do need it, definitely. It does have a heat pump, by the way, on offer. Then that is, you know, that reduces the range effects in winter, like the range losses. Here you can then either hit this button or the upper one. It doesn't matter which one of these two fields you hit, and then it switches around. So, and then you have this hotkey menu for like the sat nav or something, and this one becomes the volume knob. However, I mean, it's a cool, interesting idea to have both functions on that. Looking forward to your comments about that, but I would usually leave it in that way. Why? I want to control the temperature, and the volume I can also do on the steering wheel. And when I have Apple CarPlay and Auto in the infotainment system, then I use everything here with touch and don't need the hotkeys right here. So this is it for me, and probably I will not use the switch effect. Would you? Here, you can see how it switches. And here in the middle. Quite funny, isn't it? And this is also easy to control, like the seat cooling and also heated steering wheel for wintertime, really cool. And also, by the way, efficient. It's more efficient to use heated steering wheel and heated seats than to heat up the whole air in the vehicle. This is the start-stop button and the gear shifter here for reverse or drive mode or for parking. As for the lower middle console, here left side USB-A, right side USB-C, and then you have this open area right there. And I have the cable, then the long cable running around here. There are special holders for that right here. You can see that. And then I put my smartphone here. That's actually on the inductive charging pad, but I don't use inductive charging because for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto you need the cable anyway. And with the cable also is faster charging. Then cup holders adaptive, so they really thought about details. This is then the inductive charging pad, which I'm not using because I have the cable connection, and then a lot of space here also in the middle console. No middle tunnel, using that EV platform very well. That's how it's supposed to be. And we also have this nice black and white trim here with the microfiber. Inside of the doors at the rear, however, this is then hard. But there's lots of space. Look at that. How much legroom I have here. And it's like the mid-size vehicle. The length is compared to like a Mercedes C-Class, for example. And this is like astonishingly really good. The seating area here, the bench is not the best, I would say. You see here the angle of my knees, not the best actually. Headroom wise works once again with one wheel A6 or 6.1, so you have a lot of space, but not, it's okay the seating position, but not the best, let's take it that way. Easily move around here also to the middle seat, so you can really easily go here. This seat is a little bit more backward at the moment, but you can go with 3 tall L's here, that's no problem actually. Isofix at the outside each, and you can also vary the angle here of the seat here, make it more upright or push it a little bit further in. And then in the middle part here you have cup holders. They are not adaptive though. trunk area, something around 500 liters. It's not too different than the one of the Ioniq 5. So here the length barely 1 meter or 40 inches and the width here also about 1 meter or 40 inches. Interesting is of course always the overall height right here, which is about 70 centimeters or 28 inches. Here the cabin trolley hardly fits in the vertical way. Yeah, that does fit by that. Here this thing does also fit over that, so that's still okay. And you have this easy access to the trunk. Here below, yeah, that could also work for a charging cable. And what's really nice, I'll reach over here, so that way and that way you can release the seats and then you can load the thing through, easy solution. And you see they fold really flat. By the way, they're also fixed then, you have to release them right here. And again, then you can fold them up again, need 2 hands for that. And we have a frunk, see here, gas struts, and then there's this additional cover. Yay, it's actually quite well usable for a charging cable and whatever. So around 50 liters. Welcome to Thomas's driving lounge here with the Kia EV6. And you know, I'm a very German reviewer. And this is the most Germanish test for all the vehicles we have here. German Autobahn, the motorway. Let's go to the sport mode. You can see also the speed goes red. And this is the rear-wheel drive version with a big battery. We accelerate out from 40 kilometers an hour. Let's see when we have clear road. Next vehicle will pass and then let's go. 120. Yeah, so we had to cancel here for security reason, but that was 40 to 120, really good. And now let's do another, because now there's free again, 100 kilometers an hour, when we're already at speed, accelerated out. So 150. And now let's see if we can go top speed. Let's see what top speed we can score here. So now we should be able to reach like 100, 180. Yeah, it goes a little bit further. 180. Oh, come on. Come on. Goes even further. Wow. 191. So almost 200 kilometers or 125 miles an hour. Pretty nice. And the rear-wheel drive version you've seen here is enough acceleration-wise, you know. The all-wheel drive version is 2 seconds quicker in the acceleration, and the GT all-wheel drive would be almost 4 seconds quicker than just 3.5 seconds. So yeah, it's around 3 something, 5 something, and 7 something seconds. That's like the steps for that. But definitely more than enough here. And the good thing is, when you have the rear-wheel drive only, yeah, it might be worse for really like snowy weather conditions and so on. But then again, when you get out of the corners, it's definitely more fun because you have just the rear-wheel drive. That's the cool thing here. Now the tunnel here, that's cool. With some ambient lighting, you can see it also here in the lower middle console here. Pretty nice. Also then here, I really like that. So this gives atmosphere. Let's see, let's go to the normal mode. I would have suspected maybe changes with the driving mode, but it doesn't. That would have been cool actually, but yeah, very nice. And as for the driving modes, for example, in normal mode, you have softer steering. And when you are in the sport mode, not only the throttle pedal is reacting more sensitively, but here the steering also gets a little bit stiffer. Overall, a very good steering feeling. In the normal mode, maybe it's a little bit too soft for me, so I like the steering feeling in the sport mode better. It gives just more accurate control of the car, I feel. Very important here is the suspension. And this is also the only thing I found better in the Ioniq 5 in comparison to the EV6. So I talked to the suspension tester before, and he said actually, yeah, they did a lot of special tweaks with the suspension to make it sportier, and yeah, I mean, this is the case indeed. It feels really nice and agile, has a little shorter wheelbase than the Ioniq 5. Soon I'll also go in some S-bends, in some chicanes, to test the agility of the car even more. But when you're normal like city traffic or also motorway driving, the suspension is less comfortable than in the Ioniq 5. So that's the only catch really I could find with this vehicle in comparison to the Ioniq 5. So to me, it's a little bit too stiff when you're driving over some bumps. That's also overall one of the very, very rare criticism factors I could find with this vehicle here today. So the most crucial thing when you pick this vehicle is stick with the smallest wheels possible. We have the 19-inch wheels here and it's already not that plush. So, and when you go like 20 inch is an option, or when you have the GT in 21 inch, no way. If you buy the Kia EV6, that one, hey, maybe they should have called the GT version Kia EV6. Like, yo, 6-speed, y'all. Sorry about that. So if you buy the Kia EV6, go with 19-inch wheels. You will thank me for that, to have more comfort in everyday driving life. You see that sign there? That is the very famous German traffic sign for unlimited speed. Look. We went from 80 kilometers an hour. Let's put the speed one more time and listen to the noise insulation, and it's really good. Now at 150 kilometers an hour, wow. Extremely good. The sound insulation and the, you can literally also feel the wind efficiency. So also in comparison to the Ioniq 5, the Kia EV6 is a little bit more wind efficient. That's why the range figures will be also a little bit better. And noise insulation wise, this can easily keep up with German high-class premium vehicles. I'm really surprised how silent this one is at high speeds. Wow, didn't expect that. I mean, I didn't expect it to be bad in any way, but this is really astonishingly good, and also indeed way better than the Ioniq 5. And the funny thing is, when I was driving this one in the city earlier at lower speeds, now that was 160 kilometers an hour, that's like for Germans, like, okay, let's go to work. So when you are actually driving in the city, I also already felt, wow, this is really cozy and silent. And this also brings me to the aspect back again, Ioniq 5 or Kia EV6. I would go for this one. As I said, the only thing I could find is the suspension is a little bit rougher. It's not that the Ioniq 5 suspension would be the best and softest or something. They also do not have adaptive suspension available. But here, I think, due to the better noise insulation, here the climate control, which I can directly access while driving. I leave it that way, once again, by the way, to use the climate knob here and the volume knob here at the steering wheel. That's a perfect setup. I do not need to switch it then around. So this, it brings just a calmer feeling. The noise insulation is so good. Maybe also because we have the microfiber seats here, that might also, add a little bit more. And I said earlier, you have microfiber seats here and they can be cooled. This is the best setup for a super hot summer day. So I'm really impressed by that, Very, very good setup. And of course, animal-free interior completely. So this package they put together here, super good. Two things are missing that are still quite crucial. Well, actually three. Assistance systems, recuperation, and also more agile driving in very tight corners. Let's begin by the recuperation. So I set it to the max recuperation usually. It means I leave my foot off the throttle and then we have strong recuperation, one pedal driving feeling. So you can maybe most of the time leave out the brake pedal. The only thing is that when you start the car, it gets reset to the level 3 at least. Not sure why they do that. So here level 3, level 2, level 1 or level 0. And when you have level 0 and you leave your foot off the throttle, it just rolls and then you use recuperation via the brakes. It's not that there is less recuperation. It's just done via the brake pedal then, and only when you need even more braking power, then the real brakes of the vehicle are applied. Well, I tend to have the electric vehicles in maximum recuperation, but then, especially when someone is next to me, be gentle with the throttle, both in pressing and releasing it, because there's so much G-force applied. The electric vehicles are so fast, so spontaneous in the acceleration that it really takes a lot of the passengers then. So you need to learn driving the EVs properly, not to apply too much G-forces then to your passengers. And you can get accustomed to that pretty easily. It's a little bit like learning the clutch, both in a car or in the electric vehicle. Sorry, both in cars and in motorcycles, I meant. Just the feeling for that, a very sensitive feeling in controlling that. As for the assistance systems, we maybe seen the blind spot monitor when we're on the motorway. Then you can also set cruise control here, left side of the steering wheel. So far, so good. Also has an active lane keeping assist that is predominantly working on the motorway and did so far quite a smooth job. And of course, the agile driving, that is to come now at the very later stages here of our driving part. But what about that concise range? Well, now that was like a super high-speed motorway drive and so on, but earlier I did a longer normal test drive and we were scoring some 21 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. So yeah, that's like some 27 kilowatt hours on 100 miles. It means we can, even here in winter times, come close to some 400 kilometers or 250 miles. When it's really cold and you use a lot of heating, then it will be a little bit less. However, when we now compare that to our driving test with the Ioniq 5, indeed, some range advantages here for the Kia EV6. The consumption figure is indeed a little bit lower, and yeah, it's just the fact that the building style, the building form of this vehicle is a little bit better, for the wind flow. Yeah, very interesting, because the rest of the technology, the electric motors and so on, battery, they are actually all the same. Once again, a little shorter wheelbase, but a little more overall length than the Ioniq 5. And yeah, it's strange. On the one hand, it feels a little bit sportier, also due to the stiffer suspension setup. And on the other hand, you'd somehow feel there's more tail moving, But overall, the interesting thing to me is also, although Ioniq 5 and Kia EV6 look so different on the outside, sitting on the inside, even though we have a lot of small advantages for this one here, they come very close. You feel the same platform. You feel they use the same technology. So they're coming closer in the feeling than like 50 kilometers an hour speed limit here. And actually, like exactly on this point, the police is frequently doing speed camera radar. Maybe I still much money, wants to pay some more to the police. Yeah, live on Autogefühl. So indeed, Ioniq 5, Kia EV6, they come close. In a way closer than I thought, but definitely all the small details we've been finding clearly says for me, this one here is the way to go in that comparison. So here you can see how the lane keeping assist keeps the car in a lane, even in a bend. Yes, keep your hands on the steering wheel, evil Thomas. But also in a very smooth way, like not with constant corrections and so on. So I'm really happy with that, actually. And it's not even a motorway here, and usually it works better on motorways. And the assistants have more problems when you're not on the motorway. And also, like touching the steering wheel, it seems also be enough. Don't even have to control it. Here now I help a little bit. That's, yeah, I don't trust in it like 100%. You shouldn't yet. Maybe in a couple of years. But let's see. If this, I'm not steering. Okay, I'm steering. Don't want to take the chances, but overall you see in slight bends it did actually a quite good job. But now, what about the sharper bends? We put to sport mode once again, and here rough road. Yeah, there you feel that one disadvantage, that the sporty feeling of the suspension. Whoa, gets a little bit rough then in the potholes, so that's not that good actually. But here, really fun in these bends. Oh, it's a little bit red road here as well, so nice acceleration out of the corners. Even ESC was on there in that respect. Interesting. So here once again, next left, nice agile feeling. Oh, it's really regulating quite a lot. when I'm here on the... Interesting. Let's see. Traction control disabled. Ah, there we go. Yeah, sorry about that. So, but I mean, it's a good thing to know that when you say, oh, it's rear-wheel drive only, is it like too slippery or something? Here now, when, yeah, there we go. When traction control is like on ESC Sport, I mean, it says traction control disabled. It doesn't seem to be like a step in between. Ah, there we go. Traction control and ESC disabled. Okay, that's when you hold it. So there are 2 steps indeed. So the first thing is like an ESC Sport. So there's still some electronic regulation, but I think we'll leave these trucks by. Let's see. So when you have the smaller car, always try to make way for the bigger ones because they can't move that much. So let's see. And we can also test the rear view camera, which has a nice resolution. And you see that the car is also agile enough. There we go. Yeah, they were happy about that. So always be nice to others on the road, then others will also be nice to you. Once again, we have some more bands coming ahead. It's really a lot of fun. Let me put it to ESC Sport again. That was a lot of fun. So really surprised that when the ESC is on, and I was just slightly hitting the throttle, it was really limiting the power. So, but the good thing is, when you think about, I go for rear-wheel drive only, maybe it gets too slippery in winter times or something, the electronic helpers are really in place and they help you a lot by that, you know. So that's actually a good thing, because when you want to have it a little bit more loose, then you can go in this ESC Sport mode. ESC off, of course, I do not recommend for public roads at all. That's not safe enough. Maybe just when you're in an empty parking lot or something, but here a lot of fun in these bends. And then, yeah, here we can also properly accelerate out, but it's not that it would get out of control with the ESC Sport mode or something. Really a lot of fun, definitely more fun than the Ioniq 5. Yeah, one of the most fun EVs here as well. So fun factor definitely also guaranteed here. But what about now when we think about the other competitors, the others from Lost? So in our big EV comparison episode, maybe tune into that one if you haven't seen it yet, I was really rating the Tesla Model Y and the Ford Mustang Mach-E, very high. Tesla Model Y has better range, better efficiency, and more space on the interior overall. However, no head-up display and no instruments. The Ford Mustang Mach-E, from the package it offers, comes very close to this one. It's very good all-round, like everything you need, like cool styling on the exterior, great driving fun, animal-free interior, has a great infotainment system, which you can very reduce even the car internal GPS. Hey, wait a minute. That's the problem here. Mainly Apple Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So if a car internal GPS is important for you, the infotainment system is more modern and better with the Ford. That's the main difference between these two. And also the Ford sits higher. It feels more SUV-ish while driving. This one here, more crossover-ish. Not exactly the SUV feeling. And yeah, that felt a little bit better to me in the Ford, I think. However, both are very comfortable as for the seat ergonomics. That's also better here in the EV6 than in the Ioniq 5, I feel. That the seat while driving is also more comfortable. And also here this microfiber top surface makes the ride even a little bit plusher and cozier. So really very, very good. It's a very tough decision. So indeed I have to say that my favorite 3 electric vehicles, as for the ones that are somehow affordable, of course there's like the BMW iX, which is an excellent electric vehicle, but it's really big and extremely expensive. It won't matter to most customers, or like the Mercedes EQS has of course better range, like a Tesla Model S, but that's not the segment we are comparing. We are comparing the segment which is at the moment not cheap, but more affordable than the very high luxury SUVs, EVs, or EV SUVs. So in this very segment here, definitely my top 3 are now the Ford Mustang Mach-E, the Tesla Model Y, and here the Kia EV6. In which order? That's a really tough question. So is it the best SUV? Always mixing up EV and SUV because there are a lot of EV SUVs here. So is it the best EV at this moment? Well, suspension could be a little bit more comfortable. Infotainment system could be a little bit better. Other than that, it's really, really good. You know, super comfortable. Range is also fine. Very silent. So for me, it would come down to, if range is the factor for me, you still have to go for the Tesla Model Y, and of course, range in combination with their supercharging network. If that's the crucial thing, the Tesla Model Y still wins it. If that's not the crucial thing, and you think like, I don't want to drive without instruments or head-up display, then the Tesla is out. And then, to me, it's really between the Ford Mustang Mach-E and this one here, the Kia EV6. And which one of these? I would probably try to get offers from dealers and see how they compare. I really like driving both. So to me, they feel kind of equal. The Ford Mustang Mach-E, the higher seating position, if that's more important to you, then that's maybe the thing. Here, this one here offers better fast charging when the battery is preheated. That might be an argument for that. Yeah, but overall, I think if it's the top number one EV, that really depends on the individual thing you need, but definitely among the best, no doubt. Today, a very Germanish review of the Hyundai Ioniq 5 here, the EV test with Autobahn and full speed. With Thomas and Autogefühl, and I recommend to go full screen and watch full length. Let's go. What people love so much about the Ioniq 5 is the design. It has this retro style. At the same time, it looks modern. And everyone's thinking like, why hasn't VW gone in that direction? Why didn't they just put the Volkswagen Golf 1 design in an electric vehicle? Everyone would have wished that. They did not. Instead, Ioniq or Hyundai put the Ioniq 5 here in this really cool rectangular design. I just love it. LED standard for the main headlamp, and you can see here the daytime running light in this arcade 90s gaming style. That's really cool. And gravity gold is the color for today. Also had the white one at our earlier test. Also looks quite fancy. The length at 4.63 meters or 182 inches, so it is actually a little bit longer than it looks. It looks like a smaller compact hatch, but actually not. So it really competes with the other mid-size EVs, mid-size for European taste actually, like the VW ID.4 or the Tesla Model Y, for example, Ford Mustang Mach-E, and later on in the driving part I will also draw more comparisons and so on. 19 or 20-inch wheels. These are the 20-inch wheels, really large, more this closed aerodynamic design. If you want more comfort, go for smaller ones because there are no more sophisticated suspension upgrades to be bought here or something. Then these crossover wheel arches, again these nice inserts here for this technology style look. The door handles here, they fold out when the car is opened, like at the moment, or then they are actually, just one with the chassis when they're closed. And here, strong C-pillar, once again, kind of Golf style. Wow, and also that rear design, I can just applaud Hyundai for that again. Look at that. We just love this retro, computer game styling. It's just awesome. So from all these competitors, I think the Ioniq 5 and the Ford Mustang Mach-E, they just look coolest, don't they? Tell me your opinion in the comments. They have different models on sale. They have rear-wheel drive and also all-wheel drive models. Rear-wheel drive more goes into 8 seconds something acceleration figure. And here the all-wheel drive, the strong one, all-wheel drive model, 5.2 seconds in the acceleration figure. The charging flap is right here on the passenger side on the right. And once again, also here this design here when it's recharging is really cool. DC charging up to, with the gloves it's really kind of tricky, up to 220 kilowatts. But the thing is, it's just working when the battery is preheated. So when you're speeding it on the motorway, for quite some time and then go to the fast charging station, then you have an advantage and really recharge really fast. Yeah, but the thing is, when you go, especially in winter times, to a fast charging station and you haven't speeded on the motorway, then you score figures like these. I've tested it, and then it's just, you know, like mediocre, like 70, 80, at some point then 100 kilowatt, and this is not such a big advantage then that you have this 800 volt architecture. So the only advantage really when fast on the motorway, therefore the battery is already warm, then you can also enjoy this high charging speeds. At this point, this vehicle segment here, I rather recommend to go for the biggest battery available, because you will need the range at some point, or might want the range. And here in summertime, about 4 kilometers or 250 miles with the 73 kilowatt hour net battery. In winter times, it can go down and more like 300 something kilometers or 190 miles something. Of course, when it's really cold outside, or also you use the throttle a little bit more, you know. This is the car key, and when you open it, see here, folds out with the handles, and close it, fold in. Well, it's really nice. And on the key you also have here these park functions. So we've tested it before, and then you can also remotely park in and out your vehicle. Grabbing these handles is not the most practical thing to do. Door closing sound. That is very nice. Good sound. And a very cool and bright interior here. Love that style. And also high build quality, soft touch here, red contrast stitches. Very futuristic interior, cleaned up. Really tidy from that design. Look at that here. You get fabric seats as base, and then you can get also slick surface seats, let's call them that way, because the difference is when you are in Europe, these here are from animal skin, which doesn't make sense for sustainable EV especially, and in the US they are then high-grade leatherette. So obviously Hyundai thinks that people who love animals are only in the US and not in Europe. Very strange decision. However, what's really cool, look at that here. This is here for these, you know, this is like a 1,000, 1,500 euros option. And then you have these relax package, and then, for example, here, then you can also put that whole seat here backward, you know, like this. And then you kind of have this relaxed lounge seat. It works with the driver's seat and the co-driver seat. And then you can also, you know, put that seat upward like this. So, and then overall, they call it the zero gravity seat. And you can do it with both seats, and then maybe, yeah, start snuggling. And here the passenger seat, it also works here with the side control, like this. It slides backward first, then it goes like this. It looks like my hand would be doing this, right? And then also the front part goes up like this. And now you have this, yeah, cinematic or snuggling setup with both seats. Yeah, bright animal skin, we have a problem. The thing is, there are new leatherette materials. We have a special video about that, where this wouldn't be no problem at all. Here I cannot wipe it clean, but with new high-grade materials you can easily wipe it clean, and it's no matter which color you pick. Yes, super relaxing indeed. This is one of the unique features of this vehicle here. Wow. And here now you can also see this really clean interior setup. Can enjoy it even more. Just relax and, yeah, for example, enjoy while the charging station is active and getting your vehicle ready to drive again. So yeah, just need the driver or the passenger driver then to enjoy together with you together. Well, and the normal driving position is also decent. Steering wheel up, down, in and out. A little bit, you know, with that bit resistance in that steering column. Wasn't it VWC or Martin Winterkorn at that time wanting that their steering columns worked like the ones from Hyundai? Nowadays it's kind of like the other way around, it seems. Yeah. Headroom like this, a lot of headroom still left with one is 86 or 6 with 1. The thing is here, seating position wise, this is not SUV. Maybe a little bit higher than in a normal compact hatch or something, rather crossover alike, but from the other competitors here, rather a normal or lower seating position. Once again, the clean setup, 2 times 12.25 inch screens here and good build quality, soft touch here. This is also a nice area, still a manual volume knob like that. And here the glove box, by the way, it doesn't fold, it slides open. So this car indeed has a lot of unique features. Here on the right you can see the climate unit can be accessed very well. It is hashtag capacitive BS though. I would have wished for a manual climate unit, but at least it's separated and you can easily access it. However, when you want to go for seat heating or the heated steering wheel, you have to go here in the infotainment system and then here for the heated steering wheel or here for the seat heating. That's definitely too complicated. We used to know other things from Hyundai, that Hyundai has the more simple user interface. At least you can put one hotkey here, for example, and use it that it always jumps to the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. There's the Bose sound system inbuilt in this vehicle, which gives us indeed a very crisp and clear sound. So indeed like that, and you can see here the CarPlay integration goes all the way over the screen. That looks nice. Most of the time you will use it because here the inbuilt map is kinda old school and has this grappling hook effect from Hyundai and Kia or Genesis, and the normal GPS, the inbuilt ones, are not that well usable. So usually I would rely on the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto one. That I have here these buttons for the volume control, for example. That's good to have it. And here also for the cruise control, I can set it here with hard buttons, and good to have a drive mode selector directly on the steering wheel, not with turning but with pressing. And then you can see how these digital instruments adapt to that. Ooh, sports mode, eco or normal. And then you can also have, some other displays in there, but not a real map or something. And you can also get a head-up display here with speed and allow speed and also some GPS information. Yeah, if the calculation would be ready at some point. Lower part, USB-A connector actually. This is the only one that connects the smartphone connectivity. The two further ones here are just for charging. Then you have an inductive charging pad there, cup holders. And what's interesting, by the way, when I put out the rubber thing here, it says left-hand drive. So obviously there must be a unique right-hand drive model, which is then kind of like topsy-turvy or something. Interesting, right? And then here, this is really interesting, some more space underneath. Well, you need some more cables because these cables here, these multiple cables, they work in every car I've tested, just not here. And it says the cable not supported. And I've tested several ones. So this car doesn't like any USB cable. So, and then you can fold up this console, have a lot of space here. And even more interesting, you can move that whole thing. Here you have to grab it here and then you can slide it backward or forward. And when you slide this middle console forward, by the way, you can see here you also have more space in the middle part than in the rear. And in general, also very nice setup here for the rear, very open atmosphere. 2 USB-A chargers there in the middle console, by the way. And then here the adjustments, electronically, forward and backward. You can also do that remotely at these other dials there at the passenger seat, or then manually for the inclination. And they are really using that EV platform, a lot of space, although I'm driving as a tall person. So really spacious in the rear, a lot of headroom as well. Nice bright ceiling here as well. And then you can see here how you can change the inclination here in the manual way, or go forward here to get a little bit more trunk length on demand, or backward then for the most legroom. In the front you do have a trunk, however it's really tiny. Speaking of tiny, 530 liters for that trunk, and the thing is, it's not especially high. That's the thing. So here to the cover, it's really shallow. Here the cabin trolley hardly fits underneath like this. They say they put this one here in a wobbly way that you can also like secure luggage like this, but yeah, Here 1 meters or 40 inches in width, that's actually okay. The length here is almost 1 meter or 40 inches, so you can use it. And here the overall total height here, like this, about 74 centimeters or 29 inches. Below here, by the way, hardly any space for any cable. You rather have it flying around here, or then put it in that very tiny frunk when the cable is small enough. Thomas's driving lounge, Ioniq 5. German motorway, Autobahn, and here we put it to the sports mode, woo, and then we'll do 40 kilometers an hour too, let's see. 100. 150. 180. And here we go, top speed 188 kilometers an hour. Yeah, very spontaneous acceleration, and yeah, of course gets quite noisy in here, but not too loud, and really stable here now at high speeds. Very good to control also from that steering wheel. And let's see now, I release the throttle. About the recuperation, yeah, strong recuperation definitely. The lane change is really good. I have good feeling over the car, very good handling indeed. 20-inch wheels are mounted here at this moment. I feel quite sporty actually, so they make it definitely sportier. If you want more comfort, go for smaller wheels. Now of course the energy consumption went up all the way. It is not the best vehicle for a higher motorway speed as for the fuel economy, energy economy of course. So the Ford Mustang Mach-E, for example, is more, when you say 130 kilometers an hour, yeah, like 70, 75 miles an hour, then the Ford Mustang Mach-E, for example, is more efficient than the Ioniq 5. And the Tesla Model Y is also more efficient than this one here, the higher you go in speed. The range, summertime, and well, in winter time when it's not too cold and you don't hammer the throttle all the way, you can score some 400 kilometers or 250 miles. That's comparable to most of the other competitors. Just the Tesla Model Y is better in that respect because it is more efficient. And well, here now of course when we hammer it out on the motorway, the range drops down. In that sport mode, it's the maximum acceleration from that all-wheel drive, so front, cross, rear motor. And in general, you know, it's really spontaneous as for the throttle input and so on. Let's see here, steering feel. I can change it here on the steering wheel, the drive mode. Here the steering is lighter than in the normal mode, for example. And when I hit the throttle, it just has some more or less delay, you know. Delay as for this relation, because still, when you're in the normal driving mode, the electric vehicles still have kind of no delay and have extreme spontaneous acceleration. So a lot of fun to drive. It also doesn't feel SUV-alike, more like normal compact hatch-alike or crossover-alike. So from these EVs we have been testing, here the Hyundai Ioniq 5 feels kind of less or the least SUV-ish. You know, thinking about the trio of VW ID4, Skoda Enyaq and Audi Q4 e-tron, more like crossover SUV all in direction. The Ford Mustang Mach-E, Mach-E you say then, it's really funny by the way, because we say in Germany it's like Mach, Mach. Yeah, so that one also already feels more SUV-alike. Yeah, and then this one here, I mean, you see it from the outside, yes, and a lot of people look at this car, by the way. So the guys next to me now, they're also watching us here at the moment, saying like, what is this guy doing there? And oh yeah, is that a car review? Let's check it out, you know. Oh, they're hitting YouTube now, I see it. Yeah, what's up? Yeah, so this car is getting the looks, definitely, because it has this modern retro design, can we say it that way? Definitely is. So that's a lot of fun as well, of course, just to look at it. Here, by the way, when I use the turning indicator, you can see here is an additional blind spot feature. Then we have these cameras here. We know that from Hyundai, Kia and Genesis vehicles, this feature is a very nice feature. And here on the steering wheel, by the way, we have also all the controls here, for example, for the cruise control and also for the lane keeping assist. But what's really cool is that here, when you use the turning indicator, for example, this is so lovely. Just, you know, the feedback the turning indicator gives you, and also the thing, you know, like the button around galvanizing it, or here also the shifting lever. This is so great. This is really a lot of fun when controlling this vehicle. What else very important? The recuperation is being controlled here via the shifting pedals. And here, by the way, now when the traffic light jumps to green, there's like a left bend. And we can put it to the sports mode once again. It's really good to be able to change it here at the steering wheel. Here. Wow, spontaneous boost. And let's see it now accelerating out of the corner. Really smooth and super. There's no. This is the fun thing about all-wheel drive electric vehicles. You look in the mirror and you think like, am I driving a motorcycle? Because, you know, with motorcycles, your motorcycle drivers are like, bah, bah, or with electric. Yeah, for driven electric motorcycle, this is really fun as well, definitely. It's really cool. You accelerate and you look in the mirror and it's like, where is everyone? And the same thing can happen with this one. Of course, it does not have to happen. You can also stay in the eco mode and the throttle input is being reduced, by the way. So here now, cruise control. Let's see also about the lane keeping assist. See, the steering is a little bit nervous as for that. So from competitors we know, whoa, it's really nervous keeping the car in the lane. Whoa. Of course, it's meant to that you keep your hands on the steering wheel. I was like, Thomas, keep your hands on the steering wheel, please. Yes, of course. Yeah, really nervous lane keeping assist, so we've experienced that one definitely better. Now we can check once again what if we are at speed already. Let's put to the sport mode once again. This is why we're in Germany here today. Last time we were in Spain, Valencia, for the Ioniq 5 test. This time we can really flow it out here on the motorway. So I'll put to 80 kilometers an hour and accelerate it out to 150. Yep, that's it. So that was the 80 kilometers an hour to 150 kilometers an hour sprint. And here now in this, is that the Mercedes B-Class overtaking us at 150 kilometers an hour? Sure is. Well, welcome to Germany, guys. Okay. Yeah, so lane change here now at higher speeds. Again, a lot of fun to drive this one. Really cool. It feels definitely way sportier than the looks from the outside promise, actually. What else? As for recuperation, so you can change it here. Holding left pedal, it goes to I pedal. So when I when I leave the throttle now, I was so far in level 3. Even stronger recuperation. I usually want to use that I pedal, but always when I restart the vehicle, that one is going away and it starts at level 3 again. Not sure why they're doing that. Why is it not just that this iPedal function is also being saved when I want to use that in that way? So usually with electric vehicles I tend to use harsher recuperation, just using the throttle pedal, and that's to me just easier to control. It's the way to drive EVs, and why not? And you just learn it to use it gently when you are driving with passengers, because you cannot apply so many G-forces on your passengers so that they're driving all the time like so then I'm like, you know, I experienced that myself when I'm being shuttled in electric vehicles and the shuttle drivers are driving the EVs for the first time, getting out and I'm really feeling sick. Big problem with electric vehicles. So especially as shuttle drivers, or when you drive, you know, family father, family mother, you're driving with your family, you have to learn to drive these powerful EVs in a gentle way, not to put stress on your passengers. Maybe some kids will find that funny, but others will also maybe, have something against your wide seats here in the vehicle and in the back. Right, kids? Yeah, so about that. So maybe let's put it then to the normal driving mode, that we don't accelerate it out that harsh anymore. And I'll show you one more time about that difference between the different driving modes. At the moment here, again, the iPedal, I can just use the throttle pedal all the time, go to acceleration, and then living off the throttle, immediate deceleration. Level 3 here, I reduce it with the right shifting pedal. Yeah, still stronger than level 2, level 1, level 0. And level 0 is then indeed I let it roll, and it keeps rolling. So at times it can be, I really have to turn off that lane keeping assist. Super annoying. So the lane keeping assist, so irritating with this vehicle. I would not use it indeed. Yeah, there's just one vehicle where the assistance systems are even worse, and that's the Tesla Model Y. And yeah, Tesla fans will probably hate me for this, but I can just stress again, the Tesla Autopilot is the worst system on the market, period. And I say that because I've tested every single assistance system from every single manufacturer there is, and Tesla one is the worst by experience. By thousands of kilometers I've driven, it is not really usable. At least in Europe, I've heard it is better working in the US because they can use the system there in a different way, or just have more kilometer of experience by their camera systems. But here, I'm not using the Tesla Autopilot because it's so bad. I rather drive myself. It has so many false positives or false negatives. So recognizing something when there is nothing, or the other way around, not reacting when there is something. So about that. So assistance systems wise, Ford is very good in that one. Audi here in that segment has also done a very good job. Also in the VW and the Skoda, the assistance systems are really good, for example. So that's definitely a thing. It's not that it's but lane keeping assist is really bad with this one. The other systems are actually working quite well. So the main thing about this vehicle here for me is it gives you also, while driving, this rather unique feeling, driving something special, driving something that goes into the future. So excellent driving characteristic, super good in the handling, a lot of fun, very powerful. Nice from that steering, really crisp and direct. And of course, the excellent charging speed if the battery is already preheated. So when you have been, Janine talked about that earlier, when you have been hammering the motorway all the time, that's where it usually comes into play that you want to do fast charging. Then the fast charging is working at these promised high speeds, but not when you did not hammer the vehicle. That's the thing here about the recharging. So yeah, this 800 volt infrastructure then, or architecture as you say, is then at some point a little bit of a marketing gag, not working in a in such a way than it does with the Porsche Taycan or with the Audi e-tron GT. But then again, they are also way more expensive. So once again, a very good EV, no doubt about that. To me, it is not the best EV on the market. As for the Kia EV6, it comes close in very many respects. The technology is kind of the same they're using here in the Hyundai Ioniq 5. Of course, a little bit different from the user interface, and also a little bit better as for the trunk, for example. A little bit more efficient, but most of the stuff we told you today about this vehicle will more or less also count for the Kia EV6. A super fun episode full of memes and the force with the Genesis GV60, one of the most exclusive and most expensive compact cars in the world. The Genesis GV60 is all electric, and this one in the all-wheel drive performance version, a direct internal competitor or sister model of the Kia EV6 GT we have reviewed recently, and in a wider sense a sister model to the normal EV6 also in other versions, and the Hyundai Ioniq 5. They share the technology and the platform, but they are quite different as for styling and individual features indeed. In the front here we can see, as Thomas and Autogefühl, this GV60 closed front grille, but very sporty and seem to be open design here. But there's just the air opening right here. This is for the sensors, and this contrasting here in silver. That is carried out throughout the vehicle. Very slim integration of the headlamps. Looks pretty spectacular and definitely gets the looks because hardly anyone drives this vehicle. And when you hear the price, you will know why. Here with 4 meters 50 or 178 inches, this here, The GV60 is the smallest of the three siblings, EV6, Ioniq 5, Genesis GV60. This one then the shortest overall of the three. 19 to 21 inch wheels, these ones here in the all-wheel drive performance version. 21 inch wheels, the biggest available, really massive. How do they translate in comfort? Recently we had the Kia EV6 GT, and there, because there's the adaptive dampers then, just in the GT version, it was still quite okay, although there was 21 inch wheels. This one also gets the adaptive dampers, ECS, and we'll see how that one turns out in the driving part. This will be super interesting. I find also this contrast here in the lower part very interesting, and it has this feature basically that it catches the light a little bit, you know what I mean? So when there's like another car standing next to this one, you see a little bit of the color of the other car in the lower part. That's really fancy indeed. And also the contrasting wheel arches, mirrors in the camera styling. So these are not the real mirrors, but you can see here, just the camera right here. Has pros and cons indeed, soon more to that, and really strong shoulders. And there we can also talk more about charging. Because it gets this DC 800 volt architecture, that means just like the Ioniq 5 or the Kia EV6, this is by the way here, see here how full the battery is. That's actually quite cool as well. And then here you close it again. So the minimum charging time then, when you have the according fast charging station and the battery is preheated by like powering it out on the motorway, it can fast charge in 18 minutes, 10 to 80% state of charge. That's, yeah, alongside with the EV6 and the Ioniq 5 leading at vehicles of this size, so pretty cool. The battery capacity overall 77 kilowatt hours net, like the big batteries that are available also in the EV6 and the Ioniq 5. And the range is something, depending on temperature, now at the moment quite good, 400 to 450 kilometers or 250 to 280 miles. Will drop a little bit in winter time, but since there's a heat pump, not that much. Well, let's put it to the fast charging test. We put the battery to exactly 10%. Here you can see it. Only the lower lights are active now. And this is a proper fast charging station. Let's see how it goes. And we have driven fast on the German Autobahn, on the motorway. You've seen it directly. Went now to the charging station. So the battery is preheated. That is important. That's also the sense of it, that you do this fast charging on the motorway. Have a quick stop and let's see if we can really score this 10 to 80% state of charge in 18 minutes. We'll now see if it really works and how much power we can get in it. Here you can see already at the peak of 223 kilowatt. That is really a lot. After 9 minutes from 10 to 50% state of charge and still charging here at 190 kilowatts. So you see so far really good charging curve. Let's see when it drops. Well, we still have 9 minutes left. Will that reach 80%? I think it looks good so far. So between 50 and 60% charging power dropped almost in half to around 120 kilowatt, but this is being held now. So still a good charging curve. And now we are heading on to the last percent. We have almost 60 kilowatt hours put into the battery. You remember 77 kilowatt hours net is maximum. Now we're at 57. So here every moment it will jump to 80%, and we didn't, there it is, 18 minutes 55. That's almost the maximum possible or minimal figure there is. The maximum minimal figure, yeah, for time-wise, of course, you know. So I think overall a great result. At this moment, it's almost as good as it gets. If you're using the MacBook for an outside DJ party or something, or I don't know, need power for your stand-up paddling board or whatever for the, you know, for the air, then you get this vehicle to load adapter. This one goes, you know, in the fast charger right there. And then on the other side, you have a normal power socket, and then you can use the devices here on the outside V2L vehicle to load for whatever you want to use it. Let's take a look at the rear and also talk about the acceleration figures. There is a rear-wheel drive version that is 7.8 seconds in the acceleration figure. Then there's an all-wheel drive model, a first one, that is 5.5 seconds in the acceleration figure to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. And here, this is in the all-wheel drive performance model at 4 seconds only. Only the Kia EV6 GT is faster with quicker with 3.5 seconds. So 0.5 seconds, half a second faster than this one, but already massive. Top speed 235 kilometers an hour or 150 miles an hour only for this one. The normal all-wheel drive model would be at 200 kilometers or 125 miles now. And we will test the maximum speed here today on the German Autobahn, the German motorway, and something fun will happen, I can promise you. Here, by the way, in the rear, massive rear spoiler, then pretty cool integration of these rear lamps here with the signature. And I really like this very obvious contrast here. This matte silver style looks so premium indeed. Yeah, you will have to pay for it at the end of the review. I'll also reveal the price of this very vehicle. Yeah, it will be insane. But there's more interesting thing to come, I can promise. Turning indicators or hazard lights in the front in this cube design, that looks really fancy, doesn't it? Well, in the rear, not as fancy in the turning indicator sensor as in the front. Maybe a little bit of missed chance here, and it's also put so low, right? Well, at least we have the additional turning indicator here on top of the side camera mirror. Ain't that cute? Well, there's this remote parking in and out function, so let's see. Oh, I want to stay on the asphalt, don't want to get my shoes dirty. Here I can also let the car get out to me. Of course, using the force here, just with my bare hands. Yes. Nice, right? Of course, this is sought for very narrow parking spots where it's somehow not possible to even access the door or something. Then you get out before and, you know, leave the vehicle, and then you put it in that very narrow spot then. So it's really cool. Hyundai, Kia and Genesis have it for a lot of models, and it's always fascinating to see, once again, using the force. This is the car key. Also looks like the styling of DS, right? You know, from the Peugeot Citroën DS premium manufacturer, but they all do it in the same styling. This is here for the remote parking function. You can let the car park out itself. And when you open the vehicle here, you can see the door handles fold out, and also here these camera mirrors. You do not have to go for them. It's an option. Or in the higher trim then here, then they also fold out. And yeah, they're interesting indeed. Here then you open it like this, and door closing sound is not the best, I have to say, but the rest of the quality of material is really nice. Leather here, and also Alcantara microfiber use here. Also how the buttons are designed and so on. So that looks pretty fancy. And this is, by the way you control then these side mirrors. Doesn't work here at this moment, but it's like controlling normal mirrors, and then you move the image on the inside. That's pretty interesting. Here we are. Soon more details to that. Here the steering wheel looks a little bit off. I mean, it doesn't fit to the rest of the vehicle. I think it's because it doesn't look sporty enough, and the rest of the vehicle looks quite futuristic and sporty. But real buttons, and soon more of to that what all means. The seats have this very luxurious look, in this case animal skin. However, they are also available with leatherette if you want to go more animal friendly and also with less resource use and so on. But yeah, test vehicles are often equipped just high spec, even if it doesn't make the most sense. As for the seating comfort, it's actually quite decent. When you're taller, by the way, it does have this comfort function here. When I start ignition, seat goes forward, steering wheel goes down. 602 or 1.89 meters, still some headroom left, although this is a panoramic roof. It is not to be opened completely. There's just this shade, and it has an interesting function. So when you, at the moment it's opened, and when I want to close it, one more ignition step, yeah, then it goes, it actually closes from the front and the rear at the same time, like this. Like this. So that's a very interesting function. Definitely leave some more light in, but at least you have this shade here. And the thing is here, you feel a little bit caged in. It is on length, not the smallest vehicle, but it does feel kind of small here in the front. I have to say that's the downside of it. So the ignition has to be turned on further, and then you can also move this image here. And I can do the same then with the right mirror. Also up and down a little bit, so you can maybe also adjust. Looks kind of weird, right? And you can see also that the camera itself does not move, but it's more the image recorded by the camera, where you then pick, you know, like a certain slot inside the image. It also looks a little bit odd in the interior, doesn't it? I mean, you have, of course, one here, and then the other one at the other side there. It looks a little bit weird. Would you like such a solution? Interior overview. Definitely you can see here this dual screen horizontal layout, 12.3 inch, right side infotainment, left side digital instruments. The steering wheel has a, let's say, a little bit of an odd form. It's rather flat and it feels like in a big sedan or something, like from the grip here. It's not sporty at all, but so many other features are, like the boost button. For 10 seconds you get extra 20 kilowatt of boost. And on left side drive modes, then that also changes how the car reacts. Tell you more about that later. The driving part here, real buttons at the steering wheel, so great. No hashtag capacitive BS, that's great. On the right side, same thing. Here also with real climate knobs, for example, nice to have. Just here, like the vent strength is in the, but that also gives you a haptic feedback in a way. That's actually quite cool. And we still have a lot of hotkeys to access the car into a map, for example. That's really nice. Zoom out to the infotainment. You can either use the touchscreen or you can also use here in the lower part this turning knob. And that gives you also a very nice quality feedback. Here also a manual volume jog, that's cool, or a tune jog. And then very obvious here this crystalline ball that is at the moment does do nothing but looking good, but when we switch off the light we can even better see what that does. This crystalline ball here looks amazing, especially at night here in the basement garage. Look at that. And then when you put in the drive mode, when you hit start stop, there we go, it turns around and then you can put in drive mode, reverse or neutral, and you see here also the color changes. So these are really beautiful details. Yes, it has some kind of, let's say, complication with that, but it does look fancy. What do you think? Are you team fancy or team less complicated?
Could be a Pokemon ball.
A Pokemon ball, says Michelle. More special features here. The glove box doesn't fall down, but you can slide it out actually. Interesting. Then here, USB chargers, USB-C, a lot of space here, and then there's this, empty middle tunnel, and you can see here that goes all the way around from the rear. Hello. So this lower middle console, you can shake hands with your rear passengers when you menu stationary. So very interesting open concept. And on top of that, more details. Here you also have cooled seats, heated seats, and here more space underneath. The passenger seat also has the so-called gentleman's function. Shall we gender that? Gentleman / gentlewoman's function. Then we can also control from the driver's seat the co-driver seat. And the third button here, that is for this lying seat function. So you can even activate that one from the driver's seat. You have to see, sometimes you have to press it a couple of times and then it does work. And yeah, when you can activate this one here from the driver's seat, let's say, let's go a little bit further. Yeah, like this. I would say you can play around a little bit with this feature, can't you? Well, this looks impressive, right? And well, you can also do other things in this vehicle with this special function here, right? I love this feature. We also know it from the Ioniq 5, this relaxation seat, and it works with both seats actually, and it really relieves stress. And well, not only that it works for the maybe like a car cinema or something. Talking about cinema. Luke, I am your father. Oh, we're at the infotainment system. So here we see we have some EV gauges here, for example, for the rest projected range and so on. And more about the range figures also already exterior and also later while driving with consumptions. It's very interesting, the whole visualization of that thing. We can also here, for example, select everything in the infotainment system, what we want to do with the seat as well, but not sure if we would really do that. The car internal GPS is weird, as we know from Kia, Hyundai and Genesis. It has this strange grappling hook effect always when you pinch and zoom in the map. Not sure if you would really use it actually, but everything seems quite fast. And most of the time, of course, you will use the smartphone integration, and that is nicely done here. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, with cable connection. I do prefer the cable connection, by the way. And the Bang & Olufsen sound system has a great 3D surround here, so for music lovers, perfect. Here the digital instruments. It's a realistic consumption figure, by the way, also, and you can see here the elapsed range together with the projected range left also fits then 4 kilometers or 250 miles. And you can also have some other views here, like this is pretty cool, right? You have the front view camera then in your digital instruments. That's unusual and pretty cool indeed. Or this assistance systems view, also the map, the GPS view. And when you hit the turning indicators, sorry Michelle, then you can also see here left or right is another blind spot feature. Of course, it makes more sense in a car where you don't have these monitors anyway, but still this is an additional thing that appears. Rear doors here. See, they open. Yeah, this is actually okay, the angle they are opening. Nice materials also at the inside of the doors. More sound speakers here from the Bang & Olufsen system. And you can see here, it's not the longest vehicle, but at least it has a flat floor. So using that EV platform. And then also the same seat styling for the rear. The question is how much space there is. Let's find out. Shoe tab. And when I'm driving, see here still space left. There is more space in the EV6, for example. I recently had that, but still for 412Ls, no problem. Headroom wise also works. Here, by the way, a nice manual shade. It wasn't me. So yeah, this is really like very closely. That's like it's not too much space here in between. Let's move to the middle seat, which is a little bit stiffer. Come on, really? Yeah, that works. It's again quite stiff to sit here from the bolstering, but it works space-wise at least. Then, so for 512Ls there is space, and here couples, they're not adaptive though actually. And well, you can't do anything with that bench here. And folding the seats, there's also no possibility here, in the top part, but here in the lower part, you have this lever. And with that, you can either fold the whole thing, but you can see you can also change the angle. Here, there's a real power socket underneath that rear bench for a MacBook or something. This trunk lets you connect with the force.
Seems like a force delay.
Force delay. There we are. So this is the function that you just stand behind the vehicle when you have the key in your pocket. Pretty cool. A meter or 40 inches in width and 90 centimeters or 35 inches in length. And the height is about here 70 centimeters or 28 inches. So still well usable, not too large. This one wobbles around here a little bit. The seat folding mechanism from the rear area. And here, for example, they have put, this charging cable box, and it's basically glued to that was just one of them, so it's really sticky here. Interesting. And underneath here you have a little bit more space. By the way, do you think that the Genesis logo resembles the Bentley logo? Some say so. Would like to hear your take on that. And then, is there a frunk or not? Yes, there is a frunk, really good. And then also good quality here. When you open that one, it stays up like this. So this flap here stays up like this. So it's really relaxing, this function. And you can put some things in here. Also a charging cable if you don't want to use the rear space for that. And the funny thing is indeed, the Korean manufacturers, they always include a frunk. And all the German manufacturers, they never include a frunk. Besides the Porsche Taycan, which obviously is a Porsche and has this frunk heritage, and therefore also the Audi e-tron GT, but all the other, let's say, normal German EVs, they don't have a frunk, but the Koreans do. Why would that be? Thomas's EV driving lounge today with the Genesis GV60. This is the sister model of the Kia EV6 GT. 4 seconds instead of 3.4 seconds. 4 seconds instead of 3.5 seconds. So 0.5 seconds difference is this one is slower. But we put it also in the sport mode, and for 10 seconds we can activate a boost, then we're even faster and then closer to the EV6 GT. From 40 kilometers an hour, boost mode, let's go. Woo! 150. And 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. Great acceleration, it goes even further. Let's do this. German Autobahn here. Whoa, what's that noise? Now 230 kilometers an hour. That's a strange noise, right? Whoa. Have you heard that noise? What was that? Was it like a high-speed warning or something? Or was it like beep? Strange. Never heard something like this. That was strange, right? But good high-speed behavior. Suspension doesn't shake up at all. Good here also recuperation and the when you have exceeded that, need more braking power, then the rear brakes are being applied. So awesome acceleration indeed. But that noise was like almost like, hey, don't drive that fast or something. Really strange. Have you guys any idea? Gotta scroll back and hear that again. That was, and we on the way back we can accelerate one more time, and then we we're gonna accelerate, yeah, and then check it again. Oh yeah. Now a little bit slower. Go back to eco or comfort mode. There's this electronically controlled suspension in here. So this is the adaptive suspension that's also built in the EV6 GT. And in the comfort mode, it's a little bit softer. Sport mode's really rough. And the general setup here, I feel, is even stiffer than in the EV6 GT. 21-inch wheels here also. And I think the setup is even a little bit too stiff, I feel, actually. Here now, in the tunnel, we can see some, see the instruments, ambient lighting around here and here, also the inside of the doors. And of course you have these, these screens. I'm not sure if they flicker on camera. Here at the moment they also flicker on the rear eye because of that the light frequency here in that tunnel. Yeah, about these digital mirrors while driving. For a digital mirror solution, it's quite good because they're really large. You can see very well what's happening and you don't have a blind spot. That's on the pro side. On the con side is, when I compare it also with the normal back mirror in the top there, a normal mirror gives you a three-dimensional image of your surrounding. And these monitors, they do not. It's two-dimensional, it's just the fake of a 3D image, basically. And that's, to me, the dangerous thing. Yes, it doesn't show a blind spot, so you have a good view, and it's also not low down like in the first Audi e-tron. So it's a good solution on the one hand, but I still prefer classic mirrors because, again, in combination with all the three mirrors, you have in your head a three-dimensional image of your surrounding, and you know the distance. And here, when you look at these screens, you don't have, let's say in the perceived quality, a sense of what the distance is. That's my point, so you can get used to it, and when you are getting used to it, of course, you're getting better in the estimation. But now, for example, when I compare what I see in the back mirror and the rear mirror, and then the car approaching, it's good, so it's the best digital mirror solution I've seen yet. The most convincing one, definitely. I'm not 100% convinced that it's actually the better technology. Yes, it's better aerodynamics on the outside, but not the largest difference. Yeah, so not 100% convinced, but definitely well done for such a solution. Let's take it that way. And I'll also update you if I have something that is, even more. There's also this, as like a blind spot warning, like a red triangle, by the way. So like an additional thing that is also well done indeed. So here in the comfort mode, again, the suspension is too stiff, I feel. together also with the 21-inch wheels, and I thought maybe, shouldn't the EV6 GT be the sportier setup, and this one here more like this luxury, sophistication, comfort thing, and a little bit less sporty? Okay. Talking about less sportiness, as for the consumption or energy efficiency, so you can, in summertime here, score some 17 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. It's like 27 kilowatt hours on 100 miles. And if you accelerate out a little bit more, or maybe have a little bit worse temperature conditions or something, moves more like 19, 20 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers, or like 29 kilowatt hours on 100 miles. And for good conditions, that ensures us an electric range then of 450 kilometers or 280 miles. That's decent, that's really good. And maybe in a little bit worse situation than 400 kilometers or 250 miles. And this also does come with a heat pump, so we don't have too severe losses in winter times. Of course, there are always losses for range, but they're not too bad. Cruise control here at the steering wheel with real buttons. That's good as for the interface, and also that I can change the temperature while driving in a very easy way with real buttons. Not all over the place with hashtag capacitive BS. Actually, hardly any here. That's a good thing, and this also carried out through all the Genesis models, that they still give us real buttons, and especially while driving here, so nice to control. Now I'm not sure if you can see it on the left monitor, there's a car approaching, and there should then be the next warning. See, there's the triangle, when I hit the turning indicator anyway, then I also get an acoustic warning, so that's another step. And you've maybe also seen in the instruments, that's also quite cool, when I set a turning indicator, then there's also the visualization in the digital instruments here. There we go. So this is another system that helps us. Is it maybe too much? I don't know. Is the acceleration too much? Let's find out. Boost mode, once again, sport mode from 90 kilometers an hour. Let's go. Oh, it's a sudden punch. 170. Wow. 200. This goes like a rocket indeed, and wow, great. There's this sound again at about 220. I think it's like a high-speed warning or something, right? It's really weird, right? Wow. That thing is indeed like a very sporty setup, and well, explosive. Here, of course, a lot of wind noise also at higher speeds, but at normal motorway speeds, I mean, where would you do that here like this? It behaves very well also as for noise insulation. Here, for example, dropping it to 130 kilometers an hour, like 70 miles an hour, also reasonable noise insulation and so on. Here at 120, really silent, so you feel that this is a premium car, and also all the build quality and the ride quality is really good. As for the seats, I think they're not too bad, but I'm not too happy for them for tall people, especially here with the animal skin cover. It also gets quite hot indeed. Yeah, Michel agrees as well. And Michel is not as tall as me, and he's also not too satisfied with the driving comfort. Overall, I feel while driving this vehicle, it's not a large vehicle, you know, and you pay a lot of money, but on the inside, when you feel it, when you drive it, it doesn't feel like a big sophisticated vehicle, you know what I mean? It feels sophisticated in all the execution, especially on the interior. We have a lot of fancy features, but you rather feel like you would be driving a smaller vehicle, because you're enclosed quite a lot here while sitting here. So I would have expected a little bit more space on the interior, especially already with the driver's position here. There are two electric motors here in that vehicle. You know, there's also the rear-wheel drive version, and there are two all-wheel drive models. This one here being the top all-wheel drive model, also with that boost here. And still, getting around here, it's, you know, how it feels from the axle distribution, pretty equal. You know, you get a typical all-wheel drive feeling, because you have one motor per axle then in this case. And when you go for the not so strong all-wheel drive model, even in this case, then the front electric motor is a little bit stronger. So that's a little bit, depends on the philosophy then from manufacturer to manufacturer indeed. Here, as for assistance systems, setting cruise control at the steering wheel, and then there's also this active steering assistant. Let's see if it gets activated. Here we go. And here also on the countryside road, lane is being kept indeed, and see also rather smooth steering movements here. And recuperation, this is very interesting indeed. So we have different modes here. We can select it. Why is it not being met? Because the cruise control. So hit the brake once and then cruise control is deactivated. So here I can go to level 0, then the car is just rolling. When we leave the throttle, it's just like then I can go level 1 here with the pedal, level 2, level 3, up to max I pedal. And I pedal is this one pedal driving, maximum recuperation, and then when I leave the throttle, strong deceleration indeed. Whoa, yeah, still in sports mode. So in sports mode, the throttle input is so harsh, it goes like so you have to also watch your passengers that they don't get sick.
I'm doing great, thank you.
Awesome. Nice. So back to the recuperation thing. So one pedal driving feel, you can pick it, and the very strange thing here is manufacturers are telling us all over and over again, when you restart the vehicle, it has to be always in one specific mode, because they are doing this consumption cycle in that mode, the homologation, so it's called. So it always has to be one mode, and they have to decide for one standard mode, and then you can always choose it. And the strange thing here is, when you have the I-pedal mode, the maximum recuperation, or 0, the rolling mode, that doesn't work to be saved as your standard setting. However, when you go in level 3, 2, or 1, these are being saved and are being... It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I let that Zoe a little bit of time, you know. I think when people don't react after a second, you don't always have to horn immediately. I mean, whatever. Yeah, but the guy behind us did the work then for us. So when you have level 3, 2, or 1, it stays in that mode when you start up the vehicle the next time. And I wonder, why are all the manufacturers telling us they can't do that, and now there's one that's doing it? I don't get it. Or maybe it's the homologation difference between 3, 2, and 1 not that relevant, but it is for the max I-pedal and for the 0 rolling setting. It's also not that logical, you know. Why can't I then save or have all settings as preset, but just the one in between? Yeah, I was wondering about that. Sometimes strange things happen with new vehicles here. It's good to know. And which one is the best mode? It always depends. I'm not sure if you always want to use the pedals and change it. Maybe when you're driving down a longer, steep hill, then it makes sense to go for a bigger recuperation, and the car does the job by that, and you don't have to use the brake pedal. That might be more convenient or so. Maybe you're a fan of, what the hell is this guy doing? I think it's the horning guy. Now he sees like he's 50 kilometers an hour, and on this road, the police are frequently doing radar control. I mean, I've seen him here like 5 times doing the Blitzer game. In Germany, we call them Blitzer. Listen and repeat. Blitzer. Like speed camera. Speed camera is Blitzer. It's like, you know, like lightning something. That's the direct translation. No, it doesn't have anything to do with the Blitz. When that guy, obviously, we are well overtaken, and take the next Blitzer for us. There we go. Okay. Well, good thing that they have their phone number on the back of the vehicle, so feel free to call them. Okay, Mr. Bond, I will now occupy your telephone with a lot of viewers calling you. Sorry about that. Now, the guy answering the phone in the company, don't do it. Please don't do it. poor guy at the telephone. Doesn't have anything to do with those guys, definitely. Back to our review. Yeah, I mean, the overall driving feeling is pretty cool indeed. Besides the fact that I feel I would need a little bit more space on where I'm sitting and space around me here. Really sporty driving character, a little bit too stiff from suspension, and we still have one more category to go because we want to approach the great winding corners, see how much sportiness there is in the vehicle. Performance acceleration wise, we've seen that, yeah, super impressive. And did we really feel, I mean, we just did the EV6 GT like 2 weeks ago. Did we feel a significant difference in acceleration? A little bit, maybe, like this 0.5 seconds. Yeah, you feel that. If you haven't watched the EV6 GT episode yet, we will also, of course, link it in the pinned comment in the video description and also at the end of the video in the video overlay, so you can click on that. All right. Now, one more time in the sports mode. Let's see the winding corners. Whoa, that accelerator pedal is so harsh that the reaction. Steering setup is really nice, by the way, pretty direct. Oh, watch the birds, definitely. However, you have to steer quite a lot. It's not too progressive. The sports mode, a little bit more reaction. Yeah, the acceleration out, that is really great. And yeah, I really feel the suspension setup is different than in the EV6 GT. So here now, left corner here. Yeah, these, tires, pushing us outward. I mean, there is some weight from that EV. Acceleration out. They they don't have, let's say, not the sportiest acceleration out feature here. So it's more balanced between, that all-wheel drive. So I would like a little bit more rear wheel bias for that. That would be cool. There is one more possibility. You can put this car into the drift mode when you are on closed roads, not on public roads. So it also offers a drift mode like the EV6 GT does. And then you would have that rear wheel bias. Yeah, but for most situations in everyday driving life, of course, you would not do that actually. Overall, quite impressive ride with the minus of this, should it be a little bit more comfortable for the whole Genesis concept, I think. And the sportiness, definitely great with acceleration, but I would like a little bit more rear wheel bias also in the all-wheel drive mode, definitely. But yeah, a super fancy vehicle, definitely. Maybe some things too fancy, but yeah, here for example, but at least on the other hand, we still have real buttons, which makes it still good to control. But at that price, really harsh for 84,000 euros as this vehicle stands here now. Really? A new mid-size EV SUV is coming up with the Genesis GV70 EV. This vehicle here is available with combustion engine, both petrol and diesel, but now there is the electric version, and you can see it here with the closed grille, but in this dot structure. And with Thomas and Autogefühl for you, we'll tell you all about you need to know with this vehicle, including the driving part. Burgundy is this very interesting color here for today. We also have some other color choices, for example, a red one or a matte green, military style, or my favorite, the matte gray. That looks best, I think. And that here, the closed grille, you can see the tail lamps. That's the other side, right? The front lamps here, very slim. Daytime running light integration. That looks very modern. So quite modern styling in the front. Do you like it? 4.72 m or 186 inches is the length here of the Genesis GV70. The EV version is no different. So from the exterior, you cannot differentiate it from the side profile. The direct competitor would, for example, be a Mercedes GLC, but that's not available electric yet. Well, here 20-inch wheels mounted for today. And we can see that we have the chrome frames around the windows, has an elegant styling and a very interesting design line right here. Suspension-wise, the EV version directly comes with the otherwise optional ECS, that's the adaptive dampers, and here also in the preview function, so it scans the road ahead. And it sometimes does beeping sounds. Really clean design here also in the rear with these tail lamps that are very horizontally drawn and very slim. And did you know that this is also a performance SUV? has all-wheel drive, one electric motor in the rear, one in the front. 4.2 seconds is the acceleration figure to 1 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour. Very impressive. And also for efficiency, they both use on the rear and the front axle a permanent synchronous motor, and that means they are more efficient, but usually they are always running even if you're rolling. But they can decouple the front electric motor when rolling, so there's then less resistance, and then usually when you're just like running rather straight, just the rear electric motor is active. So it is predominantly then a rear-wheel driven car, and then front electric motor when you really need it. The top speed is 235 kilometers an hour or 146 miles an hour. So they also thought about the German Autobahn. Yeah, we Germans need the high speed, you know. So and we'll test the German Autobahn, of course, with this one here today. Something that the Genesis logo can be mistaken for a Bentley logo or vice versa. What's your opinion on that? Tell me in the comments. And there is indeed here a small frunk. Oh, ain't that cute? Well, at least you do have one. Would that be a relevant factor when buying an EV? Tell me in the comments that as well. And talking about the engines in general, about the general vehicle here, well, this is the EV version, 77 kilowatt hours net battery. That will bring us a range more or less 400 kilometers or 250 miles, maybe a little bit more. We'll see about that later. It also features a heat pump, so you don't have so much range losses in winter times. Other than that, the general platform here of the vehicle offers a petrol engine 2.5, or in the US also a 3.5 liter V6, and also a 2.2 liter diesel. Charging port is here hidden in the front. That looks cool, right? And it has a 800 volt architecture. That means charging from 10 to 80% state of charge when you have a proper DC charging station in less than 20 minutes. And this is indeed segment leading. And turning indicator check. That looks quite fancy, doesn't it? Just in the rear, it's not that spectacular. The reason here they keep it in the lower part is that when the hatch is opened, you can still see it. That's also mandatory, or by law actually. By the way, we also caught a pink vehicle color. That looks also interesting, doesn't it? This is the key fob, and it also features the remote parking feature, and that means when you close, you have to close it, then have this hold button, then you can... Oh, I almost ran over Michelle's foot now. That was close. So let's say you have a narrow parking lot or something, then you can remotely park this car in and out, and hey, stop. I have to use the force. Yeah, sorry, I had to go for this one. Door closing sound. It's actually quite good. Have heard better ones, but definitely heard worse ones. What's cool here, the door, look at that. It really continues all the way to the lower area. That means, yeah, you can easier scratch the ground when it's, you know, when there's like a bump here or something. But the good thing is that the whole area here in the entry area there, it always stays clean. And here it already starts what I love about this vehicle here. Real controls. This is the real deal. You have real buttons, and they are from good build quality. I really love that, also how the contrast stitches are aligned here and so on. That makes a very good impression. And you can also see it here at the steering wheel. You have real controls, also the jog here for the volume, for example, and it looks premium, it feels premium. At the same time, you offer a classic user interface, because we as humans, we need feedback and we need to touch things. Yeah, I literally mean that. And yeah, that's the cool thing. And it shows you can make a modern vehicle but still keep a classic and good user interface. Seats, they look quite comfortable. I'll soon test them. However, one strange thing here with the EV version, you have some fabric in the head restraint, but main part is animal skin. And for the petrol engines, you can get leatherette seats, for example. Well, why not here? Maybe at a later stage, I don't know. Seating position here with 189 or 6'2". There is still some headroom left, and there's a nice comfort feature here. When I turn on the ignition, steering wheel comes down, seat goes forward, and this then the final seating position. And yeah, it's really disappointing that, especially for the EV version, they only sell it top trim and then with animal skin seat. That doesn't make sense at all. Yeah, but let's see if that only accounts for Europe. We'll have to see about that. Seating position itself from the ergonomics is actually quite decent. You have a nice, comfortable seating position, and once again, the quality, how everything is thought out and planned, that makes a very good first impression as well. Interior overview, really clean here from the surfaces and so on. And here wrapped tightly, 14.9-inch screen, really horizontal, widescreen format. What I love best with this vehicle is that they once again show it looks modern, it looks clean, yet at the same time we have a real climate dial which you can feel and turn. And that's the way to go. I think this is actually a good way they found. Yes, you also have the screen here, for example, to activate the seat, the steering wheel heating, for example, or the seat heating right here. So they don't have knobs for everything, but for example, here for that, or at the steering wheel, I've shown that to you as well. And also some hotkeys that you can quickly access the map, for example. It's important, by the way, in a way that you still use the car internal GPS, because when you use that one, you can have preheating for the battery for fast charging. That won't be possible with Google Maps or Apple CarPlay. Then here in the lower part, we have also this control unit, where you can control the infotainment system while driving. It's also a good function to have. Driving mode selection, soon tell you more about that. Another real volume jog, and this everything resonates very well with that quality. And this is in the drive mode selector, drive, reverse and neutral if you ever need that. And then here for the parking. And also when you open these things here, like here, that it feels so smooth when you open that. I love these details. 2 USB-A chargers. You can also fit a second phone there. Also, inductive charging is in the front there. But for the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, you need a cable connection. Cup holders are adaptive and also keep bottles very tight. This Genesis water, the new Genesis water. No, I'm just kidding. So, yeah, that works very well. And then we have this middle console armrest. And let's see, it's quite long, therefore it does shake a little bit. Underneath, however, it's nice that we also have this felt covering here and more space there. It's really dark, but there is a lot of space. Infotainment system. What I really like is that I can control it while driving also from below with a turning knob, and the screen stays clean actually. You can, however, use the touch function as well. That is actually possible. Then what I want to show you is a new feature, first time for a Genesis vehicle. It has the terrain mode, and when I use the driving mode selector and put it in there, show you can have the snow mode, for example, so the power on the electric motors is then reduced, and they have really nice visualizations for that one, right? That one looks cool. And and they also kept the burgundy color then here in this case for that vehicle. We're going for sand, so that's actually quite cool, nice to have. The car internal map is, well, not the coolest one, not the most modern one. As I said, the advantage is that here then you have a preconditioning of the battery when you pick a charging station in there. Other than that, you would go for the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, has a nice integration right there. And then, of course, here use the Google Maps and so on. Digital instruments are clear to read. The only thing that I think is missing in the middle part is a big digital speedometer, so that could be better when you switch through the driving modes. The instruments also change in the sports mode. Also the side bolsters of the seat changed, by the way. So that looks actually quite fancy. And here, once again, you can also select the terrain modes. I do that with the button in the middle console. Also interesting is here that lower right part. So there I can actually change the recuperation mode with the shifting pedals at the steering wheel. And then I can go for a maximum recuperation. Maybe I have to start the engine for that. So there we go. So there we go. And it's always beeping everything, you know, so you can have maximum recuperation or then lower it. And when you press and hold them, look again at the lower right, you switch from the auto mode to the normal mode, and that is actually also affecting the recuperation. There's also a head-up display available. Rear seating area. What comes to my mind visually is here contrasting seat belts. That looks really fancy, doesn't it? Maybe not for everyone's liking, but yeah, I do like it. Isofix at the outside seats each. Let's soon check the legroom, but here the door. Also in the rear we have some soft touch, so good build quality, and also the lower part there, the door sill is really low there at the doors, so you don't make your lower trousers dirty here at the entry. This all staying clean. Legroom when I'm driving here as a tall driver, it works. It's not abundant actually. You cannot change the back part here. Here it works very well with the recess, but when a tall driver is driving, not too much legroom. Headroom, however, is actually totally fine. Then, although it is EV, it is also a platform sharing with the ICE models. Therefore, there is like this small step here in the middle part, but it's more or less okay. So, in the middle position, you can sit, but it gets close with the legs. Yeah, maybe not the most comfortable one, but it works for shorter trips, for example. There's also always a nice feature here that you can move the passenger seat from here, the so-called gentleman's function. Yeah, you know why. But that also helps when, for example, when you're sitting here in the rear and want to control something. In the middle part here, you can slide down the cup holders. They're not adaptive at all, though, so not that helpful then in this case. But overall, a decent rear area. Oh, and not to forget, this lever here changes the back part of the seat. So then you can make this one a little bit steeper. Well, that's maybe too steep, or more backward. But yeah, I think the backward position in this case is the best choice. You would have put it like this when you need more trunk also. Porsche Macan style opening here for the trunk. Otherwise, there's also this cool function that when you access the vehicle with the key in your pocket, you just stand still and then it opens automatically after a few seconds. Here then the trunk space. You don't lose too much here in the EV version. Width is 1.40 meters. The length is a little bit less than 1.40 meters, so a little bit missing right here. And the total height here is about 72 centimeters or 28 inches. Well, it could be higher underneath the cover here. This is, like a free cover without rails. But you have more space here in the wheel arches. There the trunk gets a little bit wider, but you can see here when you use this one here, it's not high enough for you to, so not ideal. I would like a little bit more depth underneath this cover here. You can put smaller things in here, but for a charging cable, I think that won't even work. What's interesting that you can, that's nice here that you have this, hear that? Click, and then it's secured. And then you can fold the seats. So they put in the head restraint first here. So folding the seats like this, and they fold directly properly. So Genesis' suggestion for the charging cable is this box. It is really properly secured here. I mean, it's like, I can't even put it up without damaging the trunk. So you have to be really certain where to put it, so it will stay in that place most of the time, and then it's here underneath. Welcome to Thomas's driving lounge in the Genesis GV70 EV, and the cool thing they paid attention to here is sound design, active sound design. Off is just silent, as you might know it from other EVs. Then you can go minimized, normal, or enhanced, like how strong it is actually pronounced. And I put it to enhanced, and you can really hear that, and then by these you can actually pick what you want to have. And S engine provides a sporty engine sound for electric vehicles. So this is then basically emulating a combustion engine, and let's listen to that. Then there is E motor, provides a natural electric motor sound for electric vehicles. Natural electric motor sound. So more like. And then there is futuristic, provides a futuristic driving sound for electric vehicles. Okay, that's more like engage. So what would you prefer? All silent, a more futuristic sound, a subtle sound, or more like a growling engine-like sound? I think, I would like when there is a sound that kind of gives you back a natural feeling of something that is alive in a way, So I like a sound when it sounds like growling and you can really feel it in a way, But that's what I'm always talking about. Why can't you just pick like, hey, today I'm feeling like V8, today I'm feeling like inline 6-cylinder or whatever, and maybe today I will have sound off. So, but this already comes close to that. So I think it's actually a nice idea. So it would be cool if we could do a live vote, which one we leave now here in our review. And it's, by the way, cool when I control something like that. I don't have to like reach over here, but I can do it here with the turning knob. So maybe we leave it to normal and put it to the S engine, so we don't have it that much, but just a little bit. You know, let's try it with that one actually. So I follow the Apple CarPlay, Google Maps then here for our guidance today. We can now see something of the ambient lighting here, for example, around this area, also inside of the doors a little bit. Actually quite cool. I also put up the brightness for that. Steering feel is actually quite decent. So let's see how it changes throughout the driving modes. You have to reach down here when I go, for example, to the sport mode. Is it stiffer? Yeah. So in the sport mode, you have a little bit more resistance. That's actually a quite nice feeling. Also, the bolsters come a little bit closer to you. You have to stick quite a lot. I would say it is most comparable to a Mercedes driving feeling from the steering, whereas the Audi ones are, for example, more progressive. And the BMW, the X3 would be the comparing model to that, is also a little bit sporty in the feeling, I would say. As for the driving modes, in the sport mode, you have more response from the throttle. You also have a boost mode function here. For 10 seconds, you have then a maximum boost for this vehicle here. You can activate it at the steering wheel, and we'll also try that out very soon when we go to the German Autobahn. First, here's some cruising, therefore we can also leave it then in the comfort mode. It's actually quite silent here. We'll also test that at a higher speed later. The adaptive suspension does a good job, so it is relatively sporty from the setup, I would say. We also have 20-inch wheels mounted. That also accounts for this sporty driving feeling, but indeed it feels very sophisticated here. So the combustion engines already, these versions there from the GV70 already told us that it's a very, very good competitor here in the mid-size premium SUV segment. So it's definitely on par with BMW X3, Mercedes GLC, Audi Q5, and all of these have their specialties in some certain areas. And to me here, the cool thing is really that they offer us a classic user interface. So I can really just easily change the temperature while driving, and especially Mercedes is going away from that. BMW also with the new OS 8 then as well. Audi is a little bit more classic, more traditional than in this case. Yeah, then brake feel, because it's always the thing with electric vehicles, do you still have a proper brake feeling? But so far, satisfied with that. It's actually a quite quick response, and I already talked about the recuperation modes. You can leave it, for example, at level 2, then you have some notable recuperation already, but it's maybe not too much, like G-force on the passengers, and you can also go with the I-pedal, maximum recuperation, then you really have one pedal driving. So I leave the foot off the throttle, and there's strong recuperation. So you can do that. It really depends on what you want. And then, of course, when you use the brakes, also the regenerative braking is being activated. I talked earlier about efficiency gains by decoupling or using clutch on the front electric motor. As soon as you need more regeneration, then the motor is also being engaged once again. For example, when you leave the foot off the throttle, then there's some recuperation at the rear axle, but then you have more recuperation needed, and then the front one is also being activated once again. At the end of the test drive, we do like a longer loop now. We'll also talk about the final real-world energy consumption here. If the estimations of this vehicle, of the EV range, then are also being confirmed. Let's now hit the motorway, push the throttle. Yeah, we're having the turning indicator beat. Yeah, that's what Michelle and I do when we are on driving events. Yeah, nice. So let's put it to the sport mode and hit the German Autobahn. Yeah, there we are with the sport mode. I also have this enhanced sound now. You can have something of the active sound design. And what about the acceleration of this one? So I'll start at 40 kilometers an hour and accelerate it out. Let's go. 130, and we're already at the back of that vehicle here, GLA. Wow, that was 40 to 130, and now when we're already at speed, at 110, let's go. Woo! 150, 170. That is super quick, and wow, also really high speed stuff. 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, and now hard on the brakes. Full recuperation plus using the rear brakes, and good braking performance indeed. Wow, that is good agility like that, and also lane changes here. That's nice. Adaptive suspension set on the sportier note than here in the sports mode. Sports note in the sports mode, right? So here another lane change. Also, I can see here there's another blind spot functionality. When I have the right turning indicator, there's the camera on the right side at the mirrors, and left side turning indicator. The left camera is also a very nice feature, definitely. Yeah, that's really nice here, and I mean, there's good noise insulation also at higher speeds. The car feels really very well in control. Comparing the combustion engine model here with the electric one, here we have the low center of gravity, so that helps actually in agile driving. Just when we are in tight corners, of course, the car is pushing a little bit more, but the driving feeling is definitely comparable. Both the combustion engine and this one here, very good in the driving indeed. I mean, in the US, it's especially attractive to pick the 3.5 liter V6, of course, for this engine as well, you know. But it depends on the charging infrastructure. It's really just a pity. I mean, this EV here drives so well, but the so far offering of animal skin only in a modern electric vehicle, that is actually a deal breaker, you know. So I really hope they will have some markets worldwide where they also offer these leatherette seats or whatever, also for the EV model. Yeah, we can just push them for that, for a little bit more sustainability. But driving feeling wise and comfort, this is really in every respect here a very, very good driving feeling and experience. The question is just, what about the agile handling when it gets a little bit tighter? That's where we're heading now. Here we go, more agile cornering. Once again, a good steering feel indeed, and the suspension is doing a good job. Let's also once again compare the comfort mode versus the sport mode. Here already in comfort mode you have quite good feedback from the car, so that feels quite natural. Let's go to the sports mode. When there are some bumps in the road, by the way, it does get more bumpy basically from the feeling when you have the sport mode on, so then you would rather pick the comfort mode. But of course, for winding corners, then the sport suspension is more fun. Here, that's what I mean. So when the road has some damage, then it gets less comfortable. So once again, the difference between the ICE and the EV, they are really comparable cars. It is some kind of a trade-off indeed. You have more weight, but then the center of gravity is lower. Which one is more fun? Yeah, it's really a tough question. We have some vehicles where the EV is actually even more fun to drive. Here I'm not exactly certain. As for the seating comfort here, when we have been driving a little bit longer, by the way, yeah, I feel that the seats are fine from the ergonomics, but it looks really cool with the fork here. But they're not segment leading. For example, the new perforated Sensation seats in the BMW X3 are to me more comfortable, and also the Volvo seats are great in the ergonomics. The Volvo XC60 would also be a competitor which has better ergonomics in the seats. Here now when we have this longer band and accelerate out, the steering gets a little bit light than when accelerating out. Still I have a little bit more punch from the rear electric motor, but it's definitely a lot of fun and always very spontaneous throttle input. I mean, you can easily forget that this is also a performance SUV, you know, like with just over 4 seconds here in the acceleration figure, you know, that used to be high-powered 6-cylinder or even 8-cylinder engines in these mid-size SUVs. Wow, beautiful view now over the Frankfurt area. German driving today around the Taunus here, the mountain region close to Frankfurt. Now here recuperation, because we went uphill first, now all the way downhill. And this would be another use case, for example, when I don't want to have my foot on the brake all the time. I just increase the recuperation level. But it does offer strong recuperation. So for going downhill here, the first recuperation level is already enough, actually. This adaptive recuperation, by the way, when you press and hold the pedal, then it also adapts depending on if there's a car in front of you. Oh, there's another Genesis GV70. The colleague is filming that. So let's go back to the comfort mode because it gets a little bit bumpy here from that sporty suspension. So this adaptive recuperation, when the car is in front of you, then there is recuperation. When there's no one in front of you, the car is rolling. So that would also be an idea. And yeah, meanwhile, I think it's good when you can choose these modes and then you can just pick the driving mode where are you most comfortable with. And also here, depending on how far we're going down, you know, and then I can also, I'm not doing anything with my feet at this moment. So you can just control it if you want to have it a little bit stronger or not. And of course, the energy consumption after this motorway, high-speed driving and also going uphill went up quite a lot. You know, I do a stronger recuperation now with the left pedal. But when we're going downhill, we will gain back a lot of energy. And then we can tell you more about the final real-world EV driving range for today. And here we go, real-world range. So on our test loop, we had topography changes, but also high-speed motorway driving here on the German Autobahn. That, of course, put the consumption a little bit higher than usual. But it's also a realistic thing, at least in Germany. And then we end up at 23 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. That is some 35 kilowatt hours on 100 miles. In this case, then only a range of 330 kilometers or 200 miles, also with somewhat cold temperatures, not too cold though. If we would leave out the high-speed motorway driving, we would more come close to some 20 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers or some 32 kilowatt hours on 100 miles. And that would bring us closer to a 400 kilometers or 250 miles range. That is the same also when you have like an Ioniq 5 or the Genesis GV60 or the Kia EV6. Only that this one here, because it's a little bit bigger, has, you know, some range disadvantages. So it is not the range king, more king in the quick recharging if you have the according charging station. The Kia Niro in the new generation is still available as hybrid, plug-in hybrid and as the all-electric version, the Kia Niro EV. That is the crucial version we're going to take a detailed look on today. Here was Thomas and Autogefühl for you. With this one, let's go! A strong appearance here in the front. This Kia Niro has definitely matured with the new generation. Contrasting look, especially if you pick that white color. The charging flap, by the way, is right here in the front already. Talking more about charging and the EV range later on. And do they offer as a frunk? Yeah, they do. Let's take a look here. Small, but definitely helpful. To open the charging flap, right here in the front. There we go, AC and DC charging, but only up to 80 kilowatt. And that means more than 40 minutes from 10 to 80% state of charge. And why is that? They are not using the 800 volt technology they use in the Kia EV6. This more like 18 minutes from 10 to 80% state of charge. Here, of course, more than double the length. So they are not planning this one here to have this fast Autobahn recharges and so on. Also is about the battery, 65 kilowatt hours net, even more deals than later in the driving part. With 4 meters 42 or 174 inches, this new generation has grown about 7.5 centimeters or 2.5 inches in length and could be a competitor lengthwise to a VW ID3 or a Renault Megane EV, and also internally to the Kia EV6. The EV6 more has the sporty focus, whereas this one here rather has this practicability approach, you know, higher building style, more space on the interior considering the length. The EV6, of course, a little bit longer. So different approaches. Here also not the charging and range emphasis. That is more again with the EV6. These are some of the differences already. You can see is more an SUV style now. And here 17-inch wheels. Also with this rather aerodynamic styling and the nice silver shiny, contrasting here, once again working very well with the white and black frames, although the lower part here is just a very simple material. But everything looks kind of rugged, and also you can pick a contrasting color here, but I wouldn't really say that's necessary, is it? If you look really close, you see these vortex generators, and then there is a real gap in there behind this so-called air blade, and then the air is exiting here at the rear, and you can see there is indeed a gap. I really like the front and the side styling, but in the rear I think it seems a little bit off. Is it maybe just too much, or what's your take on that? Vertical tail lamps, and here a lot of different elements here and there. Maybe just too much indeed. Top speed is 170 kilometers an hour or 100 miles per hour. We're gonna try that out on the German Autobahn here for you today. And 7.8 seconds the acceleration here for the EV. Told you earlier, there's also a hybrid available and a plug-in hybrid, so still combustion engines in that mix, but the electric version is meanwhile actually becoming more and more important in that model lineup. The keyless entry here, when you press that knob, and door closing sound. Interesting, I would say. It's not that, it doesn't sound that super much premium, but also not bad. It has a very unique sound, doesn't it? Inside of the doors, here with nice material. This is soft touch, also has a structure. Actually also build quality very nice here from the buttons and so on. This area here, it does have some kind of surface as well, kind of like a structure, but I think, they meant well, but it can also have association with it that it, looks like there would be stains on it, but they're not, you know what I mean? Harman Kardon sound system, a nice option with a cool sound. And this interior is really interesting. First of all, the steering wheel, kind of similar to the one from the EV6. We also have the drive mode selector directly at the steering wheel here, and real buttons at the steering wheel. Here for the cruise control, for example, or for scrolling in the digital instruments. The right side to pick next song, and also here for the volume. That's awesome indeed. We'll take a deep look also at the instruments and the infotainment system. You see here when they shut off, they form this one black unit. And the seats are also particularly interesting. So base versions in some markets starts with fabric. And here, these ones are the leatherette seats, and they contain so-called tencel. This is a material that contains natural fiber, so also reducing the CO2 impact even further. And it feels rather slick. It has this perforation because it's also combinable with the seat ventilation, and it has a very own unique feeling to it, a very nice and modern look, and also very interesting feeling. So way to go, Kia. And this whole interior is actually animal free. The steering wheel as well, way to go. So Kia is really showing the competition how to build attractive and animal free interiors, which are also using less resources and have less harm in production and so on. So once again, thumbs up. And also as for the comfort here, comfort feature that when you put the ignition, do we say ignition with the combustion engine? What do you guys think? So the seating position here, now when I'm driving, really comfortable in these seats. They hold you tight, they're somewhat sporty as well. Again, the surface is nice, the ergonomics behind it is also top notch. And with 189 or 6'2", I have a lot of headroom left, no problem at all. So very comfortable seating position. Somewhat already crossover SUV alike, and the steering wheel goes in and out, up and down. Yeah, some resistance. It could maybe come a little bit more towards me, but overall it's totally fine. So even as a tall person, you can drive very, very comfortably here. And this is also the thing about the vehicle. It offers decent comfort. Decent is, it offers great comfort indeed. Yeah, decent was just like, underestimated, so to speak, and also great roundabout visibility. Talk about that while driving as well. So when you're sitting here, you exactly know what's happening around you, even without assistance systems. Interior overview, 2x 10.25 inch screens. Then this top part here is also soft touch and has a nice structure to it indeed. Clean cockpit layout. At the same time, we still have things to touch, to turn. So not only hashtag capacitive BS, and that's a crucial thing to me here in this cockpit. For example, this lower unit, this can either be the AC unit, where here you can control then the temperature with this knob, or when you press it here, then you basically cancel the whole thing. Here also AC on and off. When you switch it around here, then this is hotkeys like in the Kia EV6 to like access the map, and this one becomes the volume knob. So interesting solution definitely. I rather keep it with the climate thing because I control the volume at the steering wheel. USB-C charging and USB-A connector for your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, an inductive charging pad. Then this is where you turn on the vehicle. Here, really nice, seat heating, seat cooling, separate buttons also for the steering wheel heating, and really great to have a little red seat ventilation combination. That's awesome, especially for summer and for winter, of course, with the heated steering wheel. This is in the drive selector for putting in here D mode or then reverse and neutral, or here for park. And here separate buttons also for the co-driver side, for the passenger side. So really easy to use. The red armrest here, you could put it up and yeah, it could be maybe a little bit better attached, some space underneath there, and then a lot of space here actually in this area. And then you can have this magic woo bang. These couples that fall out, they don't hold bottles super tight, but at least they are somewhat flexible in the usage of the space there. You can also get a head-up display for this vehicle here to have the speed and speed limits in your line of sight. Digital instruments, what you can do is here change the middle view, and we can also see some consumption figures. This is more with city driving, this is more with motorway driving, so the consumption then is a little bit higher. And here you can see some animations as well as only the digital speed in here. And when you put in the driving modes, like here sport mode, ooh, it changes. So having some nice visualizations then here too. Infotainment system is not super fancy, but well, it does the job. It's fast enough. You can have some views here of the internal things. There's also this digital climate unit, for example, but you rather would use then the unit below here. And when you go to the car internal GPS, yeah, it is somewhat usable. It has still this strange grappling hood effect here. It can be helpful that you set a destination and so on for quick charging, but then it's also not the most important thing with this vehicle here. Most of the time you will still use the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto integration. And let's just take a look at here. This is how the Google Maps looks right in there. And let's just listen to music. This Harman Kardon sound system is of course nice for music lovers like I or like me, but I have to say I have heard better sound from Harman Kardon in cars. Here the thing is, usually the bass is in most cases turned up too much. In this case the system indeed can use some more bass, which you can then set in the equalizer. And here at the passenger seat, look at that button. This is the folding flat button, and you have to press it twice, and then here, there we go. Yeah, goodbye. I'm gonna have a nap right now. It's really relaxing, quite nice, maybe for a charging stop as well. It doesn't work here with the driver's seat. So in the EV6 on the Ioniq 5, as I remember, both seats are possible for that. Here, just the passenger seat. So yeah, as driver, of course, you stay a little bit more active than here. Are we still rolling? And you can turn the back part even further flat, by the way. So that way here it's almost all the way flat. Rear seating here then with some hardpack at the inside of the doors. Same cool seat material. It's actually decently comfortable. Headroom works also for tall adults. Also the legroom here, it's not plentiful, but it's also not a long vehicle. So I could, for example, put the seat a little bit more upright, and then it would be even better. So they are using the space quite well, actually. The bench maybe could be a little bit longer, but again, we have to think about the segment here. And what you can also do is here change the back part. So let's see, this would be the steepest position. Then you can also put it more backwards. Nice solution here for USB-C seat charging in the rear, integrated in the seats, and we also have completely EV flat floor. That's the thing. It is available as combustion engine, but then again, they are all front-wheel drive, and so here you sit in the middle and can also easily sit. So yeah, this car can house 5 tall adults indeed. And then here, putting this one down, cup holders not adaptive though. To open the trunk, press the button here at the key fob. You can also stand behind the vehicle with the key in your pocket, and then it automatically opens after a couple of seconds, or classic this button press here. And then we have this trunk area, 475 liters, the biggest in the EV version indeed. And here the cabin trolley, let's see, does it fit in a vertical way? That would work as well. This top cover is a little bit like flying, wobbling around, not ideal, I would say. The width, however, good, with 1 meter or 40 inches. The length more like 80, a little bit over 80 centimeters or 31 inches. And below here you can still store charging cables. That's also quite good. Reaching over here, and we can also fold the seats from here. There we go. You can see when I have set the driver position and it's going backwards by this automatic comfort function, then it's too far behind. But to the passenger seat here, it's 165 meters or 65 inches. For the height, I removed that cover here at 70 centimeters or 28 inches. This is Thomas's driving lounge with the Kia Niro EV. And we start here on the test, the Germanish test on the German Autobahn, our famous motorway, from 40 kilometers an hour when we put it to the sport mode. Let's go. $100. 150. And soon we'll reach the top speed, which is here at around, let's say, come on, 174, 175 kilometers an hour. So we're, something at 100 miles per hour top speed, and it's reasonably silent here. I mean, considering it's not a super high-class premium vehicle. Here, lane change, nice behavior also at higher speeds, although it's not in a sporty setup. Oh, there's a Kia EV6. One more lane change here, long bend, good in control, nice feeling also in the steering wheel. And now here, maximum recuperation is from here. And when I then use more brakes, then the rear brakes are being applied as well. So that was actually quite good Autobahn behavior. Always shows the quality of the vehicle, definitely. Also when it is not being done every day, what I do here now. So now back to the normal driving mode. And also the visualization changes here. And yeah, normal motorway speeds, it's really quite silent in here. So good noise insulation, and this upright seating position here, which is SUV-alike, definitely, it's really very comfortable in here. And the seats do a great job. We talked about the surfaces earlier, the seat form, they hold you tight also at these higher speeds. It's really very well done as for the whole seating position in the vehicle. Now here in the tunnel, you can see more of these instruments, how they look like in the dark. Also the lower console here. You immediately feel at home in this vehicle when driving it. That's actually the very, very cool thing about it. That's what I really love. And also when we're here in the tunnel, it's very loud. It's not too loud in here though. The acceleration is pretty strong, especially in here in the sport mode where there's more throttle input. Directly get a boost, that's really nice. The steering feel, let's see the differences here. Sport mode, Eco's a little bit softer, normal also. Yeah, you have a little bit more feedback in the sport mode, that is actually good. And you can also hold it then for the snow mode, where the acceleration then is also decreased a little bit. So I really like the steering feel. And we also have assistance systems. We'll do that on the turn when we go back the motorway. We will take this one here because it's take a little bit too much time, so we get off the motorway. Yeah, sorry about that, that's a German thing. So, and then here, getting off the motorway, now I'm hitting the brakes, the lane assist is being deactivated. It is a lot of fun actually. again, it is not set on a very sporty note, but still a lot of fun. These electric vehicles, when the battery is on the bottom of the vehicle, brings down the center of gravity, and therefore also not so sporty vehicles, let's say not obvious sporty vehicles, still feel sporty and fun to drive. That's actually a big advantage. Only, and that we will do later, when we have some narrow winding corners, then of course more weight, that's just a physical thing, is pushing you out of the corners. Then you feel the disadvantages of this weight. It is an ideal city EV to me. The question is, of course, what do you consider a city EV as for the size? But I think the cool thing about this vehicle is it is short enough, but it's not too big. You can house a lot of different persons and luggage in here. You can do. You can actually have it as a primary vehicle as for the usability. When you drive more in the city and at lower speeds and also use, or maybe topography changes, use the recuperation effect a little bit more, less high speed, then the range can go up, it can go down like 17 kilowatt hours in 1 kilometers. That's more a real world range of maybe like 380 kilometers or some 240 miles. That is possible. Assistance systems, I put in the active cruise control and the active lane keeping assist. And this is 80 here. Why is it guy bullying behind me? I'm not sure. Yeah, some people, I don't know, want to live their rage on the road. I only do that when I'm facing no me. You check that out in the Neo episode. If not, then you should do that later. So here the active lane keeping assist works in a quite smooth way. You see here, not sudden steering interventions. Keeping the lane, although we have this left bend here. There is also blind spot monitor. I'm not sure if you've just seen that in the side mirror. I don't know. Did you see that actually? But I mean, there's like this triangle in the left mirror when it disappears. So back to the sport mode, and from 80 kilometers an hour, let's go. Still has a punch. Nice, 150. Now we're going overtake. We'll take that road back. So now we reach top speed again, and it is surprisingly relaxing and calming driving this one at higher speeds, although when you look at it from the outside you wouldn't really think it is, you know. So very good behavior. They have extremely good hardware in this one, and they're not even adaptive dampers in this one, and the suspension is doing a great job. And I don't even feel like I have to lift my foot off the throttle. I could also drive this car at super high speeds for a longer period of time. It's absolutely no problem, you know. Recuperation, by the way, I can set it here on the shifting pedals. I can set it here stronger, and also to the max now. I'm not braking. That's all the recuperation. Or I can use the right pedal and go to zero recuperation. Then the car is just rolling. Ha. So you can choose that. And when you restart the vehicle, the settings are also more or less kept, but not the I-pedal. So that's when you put the strongest recuperation, then reset the vehicle, that's not being safe, because this has to do with homologation, where they register for these driving cycles, and yeah, that's why they can't save every mode, basically. It's a little bit annoying. And when you hold the pedal, by the way, then it goes to the auto mode, and that's also an interesting compromise, that here when nothing is in front of me, car is rolling, but if there would be a car in front of me, then there's more recuperation or regenerative braking. So that is also something you have to find your own favorite setting, basically. And you can argue for one pedal driving feeling, you can argue for more rolling with a little recuperation, you can argue for the adaptive recuperation, and at the end of the day, it depends on what you like best, actually, and where you feel best and safest with, actually. So I'm waiting out here from the traffic light. Yeah, some tire noise there in the front-wheel drive. Of course, it doesn't feel that sporty when accelerating out because it is front-wheel driven. But still, I mean, as long as you don't accelerate out of the corners, it feels really nice. Of course, you more have this being pulled feeling than being pushed from the rear. That's what sporty drivers really appreciate. This is here, let's go back to the normal mode. This is here a good test for the cruise control and the lane keeping assist once again. Let's see. So far here, of course, I'm really careful with this truck facing me here now. So far, also when it gets a little bit more curvy, it's actually fine. Sometimes I do feel that the transitions, when you turn off that thing, then you feel it's, that's not that clean from a transition actually. And you have, I have these real button controls at the steering wheel, so the user interface while driving to me is excellent. For example, and here I just press on this button once, and then the active lane keeping assist is off, even if I have the cruise control set. The only thing that is still active is this run-off road protection, and this cannot be deactivated that easily just with a knob here at the steering wheel. That's maybe the only thing that could be annoying at times. And that you can just driving mode here, that is also more sports car-like, so I really liked it. And you're changing the temperature while driving, so easy because we still have that knob. Or if you want to change the volume there, showed you earlier, you can do that, but I usually change the volume then here on the steering wheel. That's an easy solution. And very important, when you just turn around, this car has an excellent overview to all of the sides. So even though there are so many assistance systems nowadays, a good classic overview from the inside looking to the outside is priceless. And that's another reason I really love driving this vehicle. This is such a good vehicle to use just day and day and day and day out. One more time to the sport mode. And let's put it in some corners. Also rough terrain here now. Suspension has to work. You feel there are no adaptive dampers, but still suspension is doing a quite good job, I think. Now here, steering feel once again nice. Accelerating out of the corners, of course, not that sporty because I have the front wheel drive only. And also here, maybe you heard that as well, that the luggage is flying around in the rear. So the luggage compartment obviously has, like, the fabric there is quite slippery. Now you heard it. So the fun is a little bit limited by the front wheel drive. So rear wheel driven EVs are more fun here, but from the driving dynamics, it's really nice and it doesn't feel too heavy at all. So it's still a lot of fun to put it in the corners. Just the accelerating out factor, that is, as I said, better with the rear wheel driven EVs. But overall, really very, very good in all the different driving aspects. So in this Korean EV comparison episode, which one is the best actually? The Kia Niro EV is somewhat the best all-rounder and the best price-performance car because it already offers you everything you need. Besides the great fast charging capability, this one has been left out due to cost savings for this vehicle. Other than that, it's comfortable, the range is fine, the efficiency is fine, it has enough space and it also fits best in parking lots. The Genesis GV70 is surely one of the best electric SUVs out there and also offers you everything you need, but just upper scale basically. Of course, also higher than in the price, especially if you already need more space in the rear or more luggage space. This one surely has it, and also fast charging capabilities. At this moment, there are also not so many direct competitors to that one. And then the three of the Kia EV6, Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the Genesis GV60. The latter one, the GV60, is just too expensive for what it offers. It's way more expensive than the two other siblings, and also if you compare it to the GV70. There the GV70 just makes so much more sense. It's already a grown-up SUV, it offers more space, and the GV60 just feels a little bit cramped in that respect. I'd rather go with the Kia EV6 or the Hyundai Ioniq 5. The Ioniq 5 has this retro look that is very cool with that one definitely, and both of the vehicles come very close. So I would compare the concise dealer offer. Together, Kia EV6 and Hyundai Ioniq 5 are top of the EVs at the moment, so one of the best electric vehicle picks overall at this moment. And between these two, the Kia EV6 has the more consistent approach as for the non-animal skin seating, so animal-free interior for the EV6 and also for the Kia Niro EV, by the way. So this is more consistent and also a little bit more seating comfort in general. To me, the Kia EV6 is the sweet spot at the moment that can do everything. It also has fast charging, has good range and so on, good comfort, at the same time feels really nice, fun and sporty to ride. So the Kia EV6 would be my number one pick actually. And if you maybe want to spend a little bit more money, then the GV70 EV it would be for me, because this is a grown-up real electric SUV you can use for basically everything at this moment. The Kia Niro EV would be again the best price performance pick. It's a lot of fun to drive, has a little bit less sporty approach than the EV6. It really depends on, do you need that fast charging capability and do you do long Autobahn hauls quite recently? If yes, then the Kia EV6 is the pick. If not, you can very well go with the Kia Niro EV. Well, you already hear it's really complicated because they all come very close. So if money would not play a role and I do fast Autobahn charges from time to time, I would still go with the Kia EV6. Spending more money, maybe the GV70. And if it's the best price performance pick, Kia Niro EV, I would be happy with every one of these, definitely. The Genesis GV60 is to me last in the one. It's also the most expensive one. That's also one of the reasons it doesn't do anything better than the other ones, besides being more exclusive, but it's just more expensive. Overall, you really have to say that all of these vehicles can be highly recommended, and you can also take a look at the concise dealer price. But it really is very interesting that you can pick the individual vehicle depending on your preference. What do you think? Leave me your comments and see you with more comparison episodes.